Chapter 871. Pa. Ling Xiao stretched out his hand and easily caught the cold light. It was a 3-inch long flying dagger. The material used was very particular. On the handle of the dagger, there was A on the hilt of the handle. This throwing knife was almost exactly the same as the throwing knife that Wu Xiang gave to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a hint of coldness. Playing with the throwing knife in his hand, he said, "Miss, this attack is a bit too rude and ruthless, isn't it?" That young girl disdainfully said, "Trash should obediently be their own trash. Don't think of yourself as a human, or else even more ruthless than this will come later." Listening to the young girl's words, Ling Xiao's gaze became even colder. They didn't know each other, but because of such a trivial matter, she actually wanted to take someone's life. Not only that, but she also repeatedly said that he was trash. Most likely, no one would be able to withstand this kind of treatment. If he was in the Heavenly Dragon continent, Ling Xiao would have already made his move. It was just that he had just arrived here and didn't understand the situation, so he endured until now. Who would have thought that the young girl would take a mile after taking an inch? Her throwing knife didn't manage to stab Ling Xiao. Her hands flung out, and dozens of cold lights flew out of her hands, all of them covering Ling Xiao's various vital points. What a waste of your good looks. Your heart is so vicious. No matter how beautiful you are, it's still disgusting. There was a limit to enduring silently. Ling Xiao couldn't keep being attacked like this and not retaliate. Even if this divine Phoenix continent was an unfamiliar place, there was one principle that hadn't changed. That was the law of the jungle. If you were too weak, then you would inevitably be bullied, just like now. Ling Xiao didn't make a move. He only said a few very ordinary words, and he was treated like this. If he was just an ordinary person, or if his strength was slightly weaker, then he would already be an ice-cold corpse by now. Could it be that he really had to kneel in front of her like a piece of trash and let her slaughter him? Impossible. Ever since Ling Xiao started cultivating, he had never been humiliated like this. You're about to die, and you still dare to talk nonsense. Heavenly Dragon continents, trash, really don't want to live. A man standing behind the girl sneered coldly. The young girl's flying daggers were extremely fast and came from tricky angles, but unfortunately her cultivation was too low, only a trivial 8th layer transcendent realm cultivator. Yang Kai really didn't know where she got the confidence to cause trouble here. Whether or not he's a piece of trash, we'll know once we try. Ling Xiao coldly snorted. He did not need to use his sword, he only swung his hand, and a terrifying amount of Heaven's origin energy broke through the air, not only directly shattering the dozen or so flying blades, but also accelerating towards the girl. Only then did the 3 people behind the young lady realize that something was amiss. They hurriedly moved to help. Only after the 4 of them joined forces did they manage to destroy Ling Xiao's heavenly yuan energy. However, even with that being the case, the girl was still bleeding from the corners of her mouth. She had suffered internal injuries. The surrounding people were afraid of being implicated, so they all retreated, leaving a large space. Good heavens, this young man looks young, but he's already a heaven vein martial artist. Furthermore, he's condensed quite a bit of heaven essence energy. They could not see the cultivation of the other people, but since Ling Xiao had already made a move, they could still make a rough guess. That girl's bodyguard also seems to be a heaven vein martial artist. Young people these days are really amazing. The onlookers were quite surprised. Ling Xiao was only 15 or 16 years old, while the girl's bodyguard was only in his 20s. To be able to reach the level of a heaven vein martial artist at such an age, even in the divine Phoenix continent, he was definitely quite powerful. You actually dared to fight back? The girl was injured by Ling Xiao in a single blow, her face pale and ferocious as she glared coldly at Ling Xiao, her eyes filled with anger. She dared to cause trouble here naturally because she had someone she could rely on. When she had bullied the cultivators who had fled from the Heavenly Dragon continent, No one had ever dared to fight back. If she killed someone, she would just kill them and nothing would happen. But today, she had encountered a guy she didn't know the depths of, who actually dared to injure her. Idiot, didn't your family teach you not to offend people casually when you go out? You want to kill me. Do you think I should kneel down and beg you to kill me? You're simply stupid to the point of being useless. When Ling Xiao heard this, he really didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This girl was most likely born in a large family. Otherwise, she definitely wouldn't have been spoiled to this extent. Forget it. Seeing that you're an idiot, I won't bicker with you about today's matter. Now hurry up and get lost. Damn it. Kneel down. The girl angrily shouted. What did you say? Ling Xiao suddenly took a step forward. A terrifying killing intent filled the entire clothing store, causing everyone to uncontrollably shiver. The 3 bodyguards of the girl also sucked in a breath of cold air, their faces revealing shocked expressions. The killing intent released by Ling Xiao made them feel that he wasn't someone to be trifled with. However, the girl was still clamoring like an idiot. I told you to kneel down and cripple your own martial arts, then get lost from the divine Phoenix continent. Otherwise, you'll definitely die. In the divine Phoenix Empire, she had never suffered such grievances. Today, she was actually injured by someone. How could she just let go? Furthermore, the one who injured her was actually a trash from the heavenly dragon continent. Simply laughable to the extreme. Forget it. Since your parents aren't willing to teach you how to behave, I'll help them today. Ling Xiao had already endured time and time again, but the other party still wanted a yard after taking an inch. She completely had no intention of reconciling, and actually wanted him to kneel down and cripple his own martial arts? If this was the heavenly dragon continent, he wouldn't waste his breath at all, and would directly kill with a sword. Although he didn't want to make a big deal out of it now, not making a move was definitely not his style. Those who humiliate others will be humiliated by others. Ling Xiao explosively shouted and simultaneously struck out with both palms. Without using any martial arts, the power of light wrapped around his palms and directly struck out. Stop! Although the 3 bodyguards were afraid of Ling Xiao, they had no choice but to make a move at this time. If anything happened to this girl, the 3 of them definitely wouldn't be able to keep their lives. The 3 of them pulled out their weapons one after another, and all of them were long swords. The 3 swords pierced towards Ling Xiao's palms, sharp like the fangs of 3 vicious wolves. The 2 sides finally exchanged blows, and whether it was in the clothing store or outside on the main road, they all gathered around, thinking that the people from the heavenly dragon continent weren't all incompetent people. This young man dared to fight back after being ravished by the girl. This was what a real man should do. Presumably, he was definitely not a simple person. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't be so overbearing. Scram! Facing the 3 bodyguards who were blocking the road, Ling Xiao didn't even look at them. Under the celestial realm, he already had no opponents. Although the other party's cultivation was similar to his, the difference between their martial spirits and internal energy was huge. It was impossible for them to be his opponent. Boom! With a sound, a light suddenly flashed. As if a small sun had exploded, the 3 bodyguards were directly sent flying, and one of them fell on the main road. 2 of them crashed into the building of the clothing store, smashing through the wall. The clothing store owner wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Seeing this scene, everyone was extremely shocked. Chapter 872. The young man who attacked was only 15 or 16 years old, but his methods were so brilliant. He didn't even use any martial skills, but he was able to heavily injure the 3 martial artists who had similar cultivation. Novels. Live, he wasn't a genius who would believe it. It seemed like the Sky Dragon continent wasn't full of trash like the rumors said. There were also geniuses there. The young girl looked at her 3 lackeys who were heavily injured and couldn't get up. Her expression became extremely ugly. She was frightened, angry, and confused. You. How dare you? As the young girl retreated, she trembled with fear, her entire body trembling. She suddenly remembered that someone in her family had warned her not to be too arrogant outside. Otherwise, if she kicked an iron plate, she might not even be able to keep her life. Now you still want me to kneel down and cripple my own martial arts. Ling Xiao walked towards the young girl, step by step. His expression was cold and emotionless. He didn't like to bully people and was even more unwilling to bully people who were weaker than him. But if someone wanted to bully him or deal with him, then sorry, he would never be merciful. When the Sword King sect killed his divine Sword Sect's people, he slaughtered almost all of the Sword King sect's inner disciples. This was his style. In this unstable world, excessive kindness would only cause one to die faster. As for the reason, he had already explained it. Unfortunately, this unruly and willful woman didn't listen at all. Instead, she went overboard. Not only did she want to kill him, she even wanted him to cripple his own martial arts. Humiliating him like this, how could he not be angry? Since he was angry, then he had to do something. Now that things had reached this step, it wasn't that he didn't know how to be merciful, but that some people simply weren't worthy of being merciful. Stop! You can't kill me. Do you know my identity? The young girl fell to the ground with a plop. Her heart was filled with panic. She originally thought that bringing 3 Heaven Vein martial artists as bodyguards was enough. Since this was the Divine Phoenix Empire's imperial city, no one would dare to make a move against her. But how could she have thought that she didn't look at the almanac when she went out today and actually met this kind of person? I'm not the least bit interested in your identity. Ling Xiao said indifferently, I only know that since you pissed me off today, I won't be kind. Who was he afraid of? Didn't he dare to go against the Holy Sun back in the Sky Dragon continent? He had even insulted the Sage Emperor before. Today he didn't go all out because he had other people with him. Otherwise, if he was alone, he wouldn't be afraid of anyone, no matter how powerful this girl's background was. If they couldn't catch him, it would be useless. What do you want? The young girl was really panicking. The person in front of her was completely impervious to everything. Didn't you just tell me to cripple my own martial arts? Could it be that you want to cripple my cultivation? No, you can't do that. You don't know the consequences. The girl screamed as she crawled backward. Crippling you is for your own good, so that you won't provoke someone more ruthless than me in the future. You won't even be able to keep your life. Ling Xiao said coldly. Once he had decided on something, no one could change it. In his opinion, crippling this young girl's cultivation was already a light punishment. You dare to cripple me? Believe it or not, I'll make you beg for death from now on. I'll send the people around you to exile. The men will be slaves, and the women will be military prostitutes. The young girl suddenly became ruthless. If that's the case, you really shouldn't have done that. Originally, I was thinking of seeing how pitiful you are and how you're an idiot. My heart softened and I decided not to cripple you. However, after hearing what you said, I even have the desire to kill you. Ling Xiao hated it when people used his friends and family to threaten him. No. What are you doing? Stop right there. Seeing Ling Xiao approaching her step by step, the young girl could only scream. She no longer had the awe-inspiring aura from before. Friend, where it's possible to let people off, you should spare them. Why do you have to bully a young girl? Just as Ling Xiao was about to make his move, a figure appeared in the path that Ling Xiao had to pass. She was very fast, and her cultivation was much stronger than the young girl's 3 useless bodyguards. This figure quickly attracted everyone's attention. It was a woman dressed in silk. She had a curvaceous figure and was quite alluring. She was followed by 2 servant girls who were holding the new clothes that they had just bought. She must have been waiting on the 2nd floor the whole time, so she had seen everything that happened before. Don't think that this clothing store couldn't attract powerful people. One had to know that this clothing store had a complete range of goods, and it was even better than many stores in the Imperial City, especially the silk and satin imported from the Sky Dragon continent, which was deeply loved by the Divine Phoenix Empire's royal family. So it wasn't impossible for a powerful person to appear here. The woman in front of Ling Xiao was much older than the young girl. She was about 20 years old, graceful and luxurious, and gave off the feeling that she was a talented woman. Isn't this Qingshu College's Feng Yanran? She actually came here for a stroll. Sigh, I'm afraid that I won't have the chance to see today's good show. Yes, that unruly girl has never put others in her eyes because of her identity. Evil people need evil people to deal with evil people. It's a pity that Feng Yanran appeared out of nowhere, so there is no way to deal with this matter. Yeah, no matter how powerful that young man is, he can't afford to offend Qingshu College. But this Feng Yanran is really pleasing to the eye. She's not only beautiful, but also elegant. Most importantly, I heard that she's from Qingshu College's fledgling Phoenix class. Yes, this Qingshu College's fledgling Phoenix class has no more than 30 people. They are definitely the elites of Qingshu College. If you provoke them, you have to be tired of living. It seemed that anyone who was familiar with the Divine Phoenix continent knew how powerful Qingshu College was. Since someone from Qingshu College had stepped in, who would dare to mess around? Feng Yanran obviously knew that young girl, so she stepped in to protect her. Even though the people present didn't like the young girl, so what? This young girl's status was very noble. Even Feng Yanran from Qingshu College had to step in to help her. This was the benefit of having a noble status. Ling Xiao looked at Feng Yanran indifferently. It was undeniable that this woman was very beautiful and had a very attractive temperament, but it didn't mean anything to him. Not to mention the Moon Maiden and Ling Yixue, even compared to Haim Myung-ko, she was still a far cry. Haim Myung-ko used to be the holy sun. His temperament was really not something that Feng Yanran could compare to. Maybe it was because he had seen too many beautiful women. But Ling Xiao's immunity in this regard had become much stronger. Looking at Feng Yanran, his expression was very calm. Are you going to stop me? Ling Xiao frowned and asked. Feng Yanran was somewhat discouraged. Looking at the girls beside Ling Xiao, her original confidence turned into embarrassment. She really had an impulse to leave this place immediately. Beauty and temperament really needed to be compared. With this comparison, the difference was even more obvious. But she knew that she couldn't leave because if the young girl behind her was really crippled, it would be a big problem. Chapter 873. Brother, listen to my advice. It won't do you any good to cripple her. Although Feng Yanran's words seemed to be a discussion, in fact, there was a strong warning and threat in her tone. It even sounded like an order. It seemed that as long as she showed up, Ling Xiao would have to do as she said. There was no room for doubt. If I don't cripple her, will it do me any good? Ling Xiao asked in a sarcastic tone. This was an unavoidable question. Even if he didn't do anything to the girl today, she would still come for revenge, and her revenge might be more direct and vicious. Then, he might as well collect some interest in advance. Feng Yanran naturally knew this. She was stunned for a moment and directly avoided the topic. Instead, she said, If you cripple her today, not only will you offend her, but you will also offend Qingshu College. Do you really want to do that? Are you threatening me? Ling Xiao asked coldly. If you think so, then so be it. I still have some influence in Qingshu College. I believe that many people will be willing to stand up for me. Feng Yanran's threat became stronger. I hate being threatened the most. Ling Xiao said coldly, Do you know the consequences of offending me? As soon as he said this, the onlookers were stunned again. This guy was too arrogant. He dared not to give face to the goddess of Qingshu College, Feng Yanran. Although Feng Yanran's strength was the weakest in the puerile Phoenix class, her beauty attracted many people in the class to go through fire and water for her. Offending this girl was equivalent to offending half of the elites in the puerile Phoenix class. Ling Xiao was not interested in other people's thoughts. He knew exactly what he was doing. He had already considered all the consequences. In the final analysis, if he didn't teach the girl a lesson, she would only take an inch and take a mile. This was also the experience he had along the way. Offend you? I didn't mean to offend you. Feng Yanran was stunned for a moment and shook her head. However, when my friend was hit down the stairs, you didn't say anything to stop it. When I was stabbed by this woman with a flying knife, you didn't say anything to stop it. When she told me to kneel down and cripple my martial arts, you didn't say anything to stop her either. Since you want to be a spectator, you should learn from them and abide by the rules of a spectator. Just stand there obediently and watch the show. Why did he only appear when I was teaching this woman a lesson? Do you think I have no status? Without any power, he was just a piece of trash that escaped from the heavenly dragon continent, so even if he died, there would be no regrets? Or perhaps, saving a piece of trash like me won't do you any good? Ling Xiao's words were loud and clear. Before this, they felt that Ling Xiao was a bit too much. If such a beautiful woman came forward and asked you to stop, you should give her face. There was no loss. But after hearing this, they suddenly realized that this was not the case at all. Thinking about it carefully, Feng Yanran was really a bit of a bootlicker to that girl. She was a typical double-standard dog. Feng Yanran herself did not intend to offend Ling Xiao, but in fact her actions were precisely to stand on the opposite side of Ling Xiao. Scram! Haim Miankeo suddenly made a move and stabbed at Feng Yanran with her sword. Feng Yanran's face changed greatly, and she hurriedly dodged. At this time, Ling Xiao walked over and gently tapped the girl's forehead. You really can't be too arrogant. Ah! A shrill scream sounded in the clothing store. The whole store and the bustling crowd seemed to have been immobilized and instantly quieted down. The girl's face showed an unprecedented expression of fear. No, you crippled me. You really have to cripple me. She was actually crippled, and it was so easy. There was no real essence left in her body, and even her martial veins had almost regressed to their original state. She had to start from scratch. Everyone was dumbfounded. They really did not expect that Ling Xiao would dare to cripple that girl without any hesitation. That girl was the favored daughter of the Ice Phoenix clan, a real precious daughter. Even the emperor doted on her dearly. However, today her cultivation was actually crippled. Feng Yanran was also shocked. This young man actually did it. Was he really not afraid of the Ice Phoenix clan's revenge? What you did was really stupid. After Haim Miankeo forced Feng Yanran to retreat, she did not make another move. So Feng Yanran had the chance to say such a sentence. Her body was trembling, as if she had been stung by something. Her originally graceful and elegant temperament seemed to have crumbled a little at this moment. Is your smart way to let her kill me? Ling Xiao did not even look at Feng Yanran. He had seen many women like her, who were not even worth mentioning. She thought that she could command all the men in the world because of her beauty. How ridiculous. Yes, even if she wants to kill you, you should kneel down and let her kill you. This way, you can at least save the lives of your friends. What's more, she has no ability to kill you. Feng Yanran's cold voice sounded. She was also surnamed Feng. Like the girl, she was also a member of the Ice Phoenix clan, which belonged to the imperial family. They were both spoiled since childhood and treated human lives like grass. In front of them, only the imperial family was considered human. The rest were just dolls that could be killed at any time. Ha 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 ha. Ling Xiao was so angry that he laughed. Sorry, I'm really not as smart as you. Thick ridicule was mixed in his words. He really hated this woman called Feng Yanran to the extreme. It was not less than his disgust for the girl. I think you're stupid because you've caused a big disaster. You came to the divine Phoenix continent to seek refuge, but you offended someone you shouldn't have. You can't afford to pay this price. Feng Yanran said coldly. Wrong. Very wrong. Ling Xiao shook his head and said, I don't want to repeat what I said before. There doesn't seem to be any difference between crippling her and letting her go. The only difference is that crippling her will make me feel very happy and satisfied. I won't have to sulk like a tortoise and end up being slaughtered in the end. Yes, since you can't avoid it, why run? If the end is death, dying standing is more comfortable than dying kneeling. Haim Myung-keo also said in a clear voice. She didn't stop Ling Xiao from beginning to end because she felt that Ling Xiao was right. A very courageous method, but you can't afford to cripple her. There's a difference between one person dying and all of them dying. Feng Yanran looked at Ling Xiao indifferently and said, "Originally, I wanted to wait until you died and do my best to ensure that your friends are alive. But now I can't help you. If what her family wants is a corpse, then I don't mind helping them." Ling Xiao's cold voice revealed a strong threat. Chapter 874. Ling Xiao, who possessed the light shadow profound meaning, would definitely be able to get rid of the girl before anyone else did. His voice was very calm, but there was a strong threat in his words, which made people shudder. The onlookers believed this without a doubt. Feng Yanran felt a kind of helplessness that she had never felt before. The person in front of her obviously didn't have a high cultivation and was a nobody. He was only 15 or 16 years old, but he could judge the problem and even hit the nail on the head. He was like a master who controlled everything, which made people feel very uncomfortable. "Do you mean that it's not enough to cripple me and you want to kill me?" The girl asked with a trembling voice. "Haha, it seems that you've become smarter after being crippled. That's what I mean. You heard it very clearly." Ling Xiao smiled and looked at the girl. The biggest mistake this girl had made was that she was arrogant and liked to stir up trouble even though she was weak. Just because he had some family background, he dared to provoke others. Most people might be afraid of her because of the power behind her. But what if she met a lunatic? A lunatic like Ling Xiao, who had never been afraid of anyone and relied on killing to get to where he was. Then this girl was not far from death. No matter who she was. Feng Yanran sneered. "You're arrogant now because you don't know who she is. If you really know who she is, I believe you'll understand what a stupid thing you've done." She stared at Ling Xiao, hoping to see a trace of fear and panic on Ling Xiao's face. If that was the case, perhaps she would feel a little better. The girl also looked at Ling Xiao. She even imagined that after she revealed her identity, Ling Xiao would kneel down in front of her in panic. At that time, she would definitely not let this fellow off. She would make him beg for death, but unable to do so. However, they were destined to be disappointed. Before they could reveal the girl's identity, Ling Xiao spoke. "Do you think I'm as stupid as you? This flying saber hilt has the word Feng engraved on it, and it's surrounded by the patterns of the Ice Phoenix clan. How could I not know that he's from the Ice Phoenix clan?" Ling Xiao disdainfully threw out the throwing knife in his hand, which landed right beside the girl, scaring the girl into trembling again. As a member of the Ice Phoenix clan, you don't know how to protect the dignity of the imperial family. Instead, you flaunt your strength and bully others. What's the difference between you and a dog that relies on its master's power? The Ice Phoenix clan should feel ashamed for having such a shameless woman like you. Ling Xiao's voice echoed in the boutique. Many onlookers were so excited that they wanted to applaud. However, they did not dare to do so. They did not have the guts of Ling Xiao. They could only live their lives in fear and trepidation. After being bullied by others, they could only lower their heads and not dare to make a sound. Their daughter had been snatched away and their son had been killed. They could only cry bitterly, but they did not dare to resist. These were their days. Because they were timid, they did not dare to offend anyone from the imperial family. The girl's face was deathly pale. Her imaginary dream had been shattered. The scene of her humiliating Ling Xiao had been completely destroyed by these righteous words. She was a dog that relied on its master's power? This was the most serious humiliation. Feng Yanran's expression kept changing. Sometimes it was surprise, sometimes it was anger, and sometimes it was confusion. Although this young man was right, Who would dare to say such things in front of their clan members? Was he really a lunatic? Not necessarily. It was almost time for the next election. If the Ice Phoenix clan made a big fuss about Ling Xiao because of what had happened today, the Fire Phoenix clan would definitely be happy in the end. The Ice Phoenix clan would lose the next election because of a stupid girl. They would be completely defeated by the Fire Phoenix clan. If that happened, the situation would be very serious. Did this young man see through this? Was that why he was so fearless? Was he a guest elder of the Fire Phoenix clan? Which bastard dared to cripple my daughter? I'll kill him. Just as Feng Yanran was hesitating about whether she should personally subdue Ling Xiao, a thunderous voice came from outside the door. Then they saw a middle-aged man in armor rush into the clothing store, followed by 2 warriors in the same armor. "Father, it's him. It's that guy who crippled my cultivation." Seeing that her father had arrived, the girl seemed to have been saved. She pointed at Ling Xiao and shouted. The middle-aged man's body shook. He looked at Ling Xiao and released a terrifying aura. Late-stage 9th heaven of the Sky Realm. Ling Xiao definitely could not deal with this kind of cultivation. He could not help but frown. He gently touched the storage ring on his hand and prepared to run. If he could not win, he would run. There was nothing embarrassing about that. Being able to remain unscathed while being chased by an expert was also a kind of ability. "Bastard! How dare you hurt my daughter? Today I'll tear you into pieces." The middle-aged man was furious. It was impossible for him to reason with him. Under such circumstances, if it were Ling Xiao, he wouldn't be reasonable either. When a person was furious, they would lose their rationality. The middle-aged man took out a long spear from his storage ring and pointed it at Ling Xiao. An even more terrifying aura burst out and aimed at Ling Xiao. For a moment, the entire clothing store became very oppressive. This person should be a veteran of killing enemies on the battlefield. If there were not 10,000 souls under the spear, there would be at least thousands. The smell of blood condensed was really unbearable for many people. Those who wanted to watch the show retreated one after another, farther away from the place where the battle broke out. Ling Xiao felt that it was a little difficult for him to breathe. It was as if there was a huge rock weighing tens of thousands of pounds on his chest. It was so uncomfortable that he wanted to die. The strength of the other party was really not something that he could fight against. However, his face was still calm and did not show the slightest bit of panic or fear. Now that things have come to this, you should understand how correct my words are, right? None of you will be able to survive. A cold voice came out from Feng Yanran's mouth. Her eyes were still staring at Ling Xiao, hoping to see the change in Ling Xiao's expression. If she could show fear or panic, then she would be very satisfied. I've already said it. Even if I die, I will die standing. Some things are done. What's the use of regretting it? Just face it calmly. Ling Xiao disdainfully said, "If a person still has no sense of shame when he's being bullied, then he's living like a walking corpse. However, there's still a little regret." Feng Yanran's face was happy. Finally, the other party was afraid. However, Ling Xiao's next words almost made her choke on her saliva. "I only regret that I didn't kill that girl cleanly. Things like crippling people's cultivation are too troublesome. It will leave behind future troubles." Ling Xiao said lightly. He was calm as if nothing had happened. It was as if no one in front of him was threatening his life. Chapter 875. Humph. Even if you kneel down and beg for mercy now, it's useless. If I don't take care of all of you, I'll take off my pants and run 10 laps around the Imperial City. The middle-aged man snorted coldly, his killing intent growing stronger. The young man in front of him had crippled his daughter's cultivation, yet he was still so calm. This made him feel very unhappy. Very unhappy. Some words are better left unsaid. If a general of the Divine Phoenix Empire, a member of the Ice Phoenix clan's imperial family, ran naked around the Imperial City, I believe many people would be happy to see it. Ling Xiao smiled slightly. His feet had already taken a strange step, and two kinds of black and white light faintly appeared behind him. When the middle-aged man was still angry about how to deal with the arrogant young man in front of him, Ling Xiao suddenly moved. A dazzling light flashed. The middle-aged man didn't even have time to react. His daughter was in Ling Xiao's hands, and the cold blade was placed horizontally on the girl's neck. "Bastard, stop!" The middle-aged man suddenly panicked. Feng Yanran was even more shocked. Ling Xiao's speed was so fast that even a 10 directions heaven martial artist might not be able to match it. No wonder this guy was so arrogant. If he wanted to escape, who could stop him? "Old dog, listen up. I can let your daughter go, but you better not act rashly. Otherwise, I can guarantee that your daughter will die earlier than me." Ling Xiao said coldly, "This guy is really something. He actually dares to talk to this lord like that? Amazing. If it were me, I would have peed my pants. You don't have his speed." The onlookers felt that this scene was very satisfying, because they had also fantasized about fighting this old dog face to face. "Let her go, or I'll let you die without a complete corpse," the middle-aged man roared. "Hee, you actually dare to show off in front of me?" Ling Xiao used a little bit of strength with the sword in his hand, and the girl's neck was cut open. Don't, what do you want?" Although the middle-aged man couldn't wait to slap Ling Xiao to death, his daughter's life was more important. "Get out of here right now. You better not let me see you again. When I'm safe, I'll naturally release your daughter," Ling Xiao said coldly. "That won't do. How can I trust you?" The middle-aged man shook his head. "I'm in the Imperial City. What good will it do me to kill her?" Ling Xiao said indifferently. "Go." After hesitating for a moment, the middle-aged man finally chose to leave. However, as soon as he took a step, he heard Ling Xiao's voice behind him. "General, don't forget the oath you made before. You'd better take off your pants and run around the royal city. Don't let others laugh at you for not daring to do it." It's not over yet." Of course, the middle-aged man wouldn't really do that. For people like him, oaths were like farts. "You too, Scram." After the middle-aged man left, Ling Xiao threw the young girl out. "If you let her go, aren't you afraid that person will come looking for trouble again?" Haim Miankeo asked in confusion. "He doesn't have the guts." Ling Xiao sneered. What he was best at now was not martial arts, but soul power. The young girl had been imprinted by him. As long as he wanted, the young girl could go crazy and die at any time. Although he didn't want to use such a ruthless method, he had to be careful of the middle-aged man. After all, this was someone else's territory. Being ruthless to the enemy was to protect oneself. After that, Ling Xiao looked at Feng Yanran and said, "Why aren't you scramming? What are you doing here? Do you want me to thank you? You dare to ask me to scram?" Feng Yanran was stunned for a moment. She didn't expect Ling Xiao to do that. "If I ask you to scram, then scram. Why are you talking so much nonsense? You're just a martial artist at the early stage of Yin and Yang Sky. You really think you're something." The moment he said that, the eyes of the world appeared above Ling Xiao's head and a terrifying soul power poured out. Under the pressure of the will of mountains and rivers, Feng Yanran found herself afraid. At this moment, Haim Miankeo attacked again. However, she didn't use her sword. Instead, she kicked Feng Yanran and sent her flying. These people are not easy to deal with. They even dared to kick Qingshu College's Feng Yanran? That guy is a bit strange. He seems to be a master of soul power. That beautiful girl's strength is actually not inferior to Feng Yanran's. Where did she come from? The onlookers all stared with their eyes wide open. They had been in the Imperial City for so many days, but they had never seen someone from Qingshu College's Young Phoenix class get kicked out like this. "Let's go. Have you all changed your clothes?" Ling Xiao didn't plan to escape. It was not easy to come to the Imperial City of the Divine Phoenix Empire. He really wanted to go in and see the situation. In the entire Divine Phoenix continent, the two major colleges were located in the imperial city. It was enough to show how powerful the imperial city was. He came to the Divine Phoenix continent to improve his cultivation and get more cultivation resources. No matter what, he had to choose one of the two colleges to join. I'm done. Let's go. Seeing the sorry state of those people, Zhao Ci's gloominess from being beaten up earlier was swept away. After all, she was a martial artist. Falling down from the second floor wasn't a big deal. After changing into new clothes, the people would no longer be mistaken for beggars. They looked like traveling martial artists. The city gate was simple and heavy. It had a mysterious power. In the past, the Holy City also had such a gate. Unfortunately, it was now in ruins. No matter how strong this gate was, it was still not as strong as a martial artist's strength. Therefore, if one wanted to protect the country, strength was the most important thing. Everything else was just an empty shell. Dodge! Just as they were about to enter the city gate, a sudden shout came from behind. A rainbow light flew over, almost sticking to the ground. Its speed was so fast that it made people speechless. This rainbow light was rushing towards Ling Xiao. However, it didn't seem like it was going to attack him. It was just passing him. Ling Xiao didn't dodge. He stared at it. This person had a pair of rainbow wings on his back and a long rainbow light tail behind him. He was just like a peacock. As he flew, the rainbow light danced. The dust on the ground was lifted up, and the people near him were all sent flying. Ha ha ha, this is fun. Eagle Sky Hero, your son isn't as fast as me. This person laughed loudly. He had no intention of stopping. It seemed like he was going to crash into Ling Xiao. Behind him, there was another figure. As he flew, thunder rumbled. The wings on his back also showed the color of blue lightning. He looked extremely cool. That should be the Eagle Sky Hero that the peacock was talking about. It's the Peacock Phoenix Sun Kong, he and the Thunder Eagle Phoenix Sun Eagle Sky Hero, ranked in the top 10 of the Young Phoenix leaderboard. Exclamations came from the crowd. Like the Heavenly Dragon Continent, the Divine Phoenix Continent also had a ranking of young geniuses. However, the scope was broader. The young people ranked in the top 10 of the Young Phoenix leaderboard were all called Phoenix Sons. Their full name was Son of the Divine Phoenix. Chapter 876. Turn. Ling Xiao's pupils constricted, and a powerful soul force was released. The space seemed to be distorted. No, it was really distorted. Peacock Phoenix Sun Kong, he was originally heading straight for him, but when he got close, he circled around and flew over his head. Those who didn't know would think that Peacock Phoenix Sun didn't want to hurt him. Only Ling Xiao and Haim Myung-ko, who was nearby, understood what happened. That Peacock Phoenix Sun Kong, he turned his head to look at Ling Xiao, his eyes revealing some displeasure and surprise. But he still turned and flew away. The races on the Divine Phoenix continent were different from the human race. They could fly after a period of time after they were born. Of course, they needed to turn into a bird to fly. Only when their cultivation reached the heaven realm could they gradually fly in their half-human form. This was their advantage over the humans on the Heavenly Dragon continent. But there was nothing special in battle. Bloodline power was very similar to martial souls. In fact, the martial souls of humans were created by the human king based on the bloodline power of the demon race. It could even surpass the blue. After all, the variability of martial souls was better than bloodline power. Peacock Phoenix Sun is so impressive, worthy of being in the top 10 of the Infant Phoenix list. Whether it's strength or aura, it's first class. The crowd looked at Peacock Phoenix Sun with envy. In the mystic world, martial arts were respected. So no matter which race, they would be proud of having powerful strength. Powerful martial artists, no matter where they went, would be revered by people. Kong He, I disdain to compete with you in speed. Otherwise, your peacock race can't be compared to our Thunder Eagle race. Peacock Phoenix Sun had just flown into the city when a figure mixed with lightning and fire scuttled by. shocking everyone so much that they had to cover their ears. It was really like a thunderclap. In the divine phoenix continent, only the top 10 experts on the infant phoenix list were qualified to be called phoenix sons. Among the top 10 phoenix sons, the fire phoenix race and ice phoenix race each had 2. The dark phoenix race also had 2, and the remaining peacock race, thunder eagle race, great rock race, and vermilion bird race each had 1. The dark phoenix clan had a rather special status in the divine phoenix continent. They had once plotted a rebellion, but were defeated in the end. From then on, they were stripped of their qualifications to run for the position of emperor. Therefore, when the Phoenix clan was mentioned, most people only knew about the Fire Phoenix clan and the Ice Phoenix clan. They didn't know much about the Dark Phoenix clan that lived in seclusion in the mountains. I heard that something big happened in the Heavenly Dragon continent. In addition, the election of the emperor is about to begin. Therefore, the 10 great phoenixes have all arrived at the imperial city. It's going to be lively now. Yes. I just heard that a terrible teenager appeared in the clothing store outside. He even beat up Feng Yanran from the young phoenix class of Qingshu College. Not only that, they even crippled a young lady of the Phoenix clan. So powerful. That's right. He must be someone with a great background. I reckon that the imperial city will be very lively during this period of time. It's really the right time for us to come here. Listening to these people's discussions, Ling Xiao only smiled slightly. Although the 10 great phoenixes' overall strength was much stronger than the 20 prodigies of the Heavenly Dragon continent, the Holy Sunheim Myung-Ko and him, as well as the Qin Bi Shue and Mo Wushang by Qin Jiao, Hong Li, and Long Qin, were definitely qualified to fight with them. Especially him and the Holy Sunheim Myung-Ko. If they were willing, it was not impossible for them to fight for a spot as a phoenix son. Let's continue. After witnessing the strength of the Peacock Phoenix Sun and the Thunder Eagle Phoenix Sun, Ling Zhao's heart was suddenly filled with fighting spirit. The current him was not a match for the 2 of them. However, after a period of time, that might not be the case. At this time in the Imperial Palace, this was the core of the Divine Phoenix Empire's power. It was the core of the entire Divine Phoenix continent's power. Although the Divine Phoenix Empire had yet to unify the Divine Phoenix continent, they were definitely the strongest and largest nation on the Divine Phoenix continent. The surrounding nations basically had to pay tribute to them. The Imperial Palace was considered a city within a city. Its majesty and vastness were even more intense than the inner and outer cities. The king's providence that was constantly rising made it obvious who was living there. The imperial palace was heavily guarded, and the guards were extremely powerful. If an ordinary martial artist wanted to barge in, it would be harder than ascending to the heavens. The imperial palace was divided into the Fire Phoenix Palace, the Ice Phoenix Palace, the Emperor Palace, and the Imperial Harem. The Fire Phoenix Palace and the Ice Phoenix Palace were naturally occupied by the 2 crown princes. They were the ones who had the potential to succeed the emperor, Feng Yinshan and Feng Mingqishan. The safety of the crown princes was extremely important. It was rumored that the 2 imperial palaces had 1,000 open and hidden layers of defense. It was not an easy task to pass through the layers of defense and reach the center. At this time in the Fire Phoenix Palace, Feng Yinshan was sitting in front of a desk reading some memorials. His seemingly ordinary attire and gentle appearance made this crown prince look very approachable. However, his eyes were filled with wisdom and depth, as if he could see through everything with a glance. Some of the difficult problems in the memorials were easily solved by his wisdom. According to the rules of the Divine Phoenix Empire, some of the memorials that did not involve the foundation of the empire could be given to the 2 crown princes to read. This could prepare them to become the emperor. However, not involving the foundation of the empire did not mean that it was simple. Many trivial matters were even more troublesome to deal with. This was also a test of the crown prince's abilities. At this time, a fragrant wind drifted in from outside the door. Feng Yinshan frowned slightly, but soon revealed a slight smile. With a creak, the door was pushed open. A woman walked in from outside. The fragrant wind came from her body. Feng Yinshan raised his head and smiled. It was as comfortable as the spring breeze. Big brother Yinshan, you have to help me, the woman angrily said with her hands on her hips the moment she entered. This woman was Feng Yanran. At this time, she no longer had that elegance and luxury. Instead, she looked like a little sister next door. Sit down first. Look, who dares to offend our princess? Is it that peacock phoenix or that thunder eagle phoenix? These two just arrived in the imperial city today, and you're playing outside the imperial city. You couldn't have been bullied by them, right? Feng Yinshan smiled and put down the pen in his hand. He raised his head and looked at Feng Yanran. Of course not. In front of her cousin, Feng Yinshan, Feng Yanran was like a different person. Even her personality had changed. It was probably because their relationship was really good. Oh, brother guessed wrong? Feng Yinshan was a little surprised. Basically, there was nothing that happened inside or outside the imperial city that could escape his eyes. Regarding the arrival of the peacock phoenix sun and the thunder eagle phoenix sun today, he already knew about it a few days ago. Was there something that he did not know? Unless it had just happened and his informants had not had time to report it. Big brother Yinshan, you are powerful, but this matter is definitely related to some fleeing martial artists from the heavenly dragon continent. Feng Yanran said with a smile. Chapter 877. Feng Yanran suddenly became mysterious, as if she wanted to test her cousin. That person of yours, he can't be called Ling Xiao, right? Feng Yinshan raised his eyebrows and suddenly asked. Ah. Feng Yanran hurriedly covered her mouth and looked at her cousin in surprise. That youth's name was something she had painstakingly found out. She didn't expect that her cousin would know about it in the Divine Palace. You don't have to be surprised. Feng Yinshan smiled and said, the Heavenly Dragon Continent is the closest to our Divine Phoenix Continent, and their strength is also the closest. These years, the Divine Phoenix Empire has been intending to enter the Heavenly Dragon Continent and expand their territory. Although they haven't been able to do so due to internal strife, they have investigated a lot of information. Brother Yinshan, what else do you know about this Ling Xiao? Feng Yanran hurriedly asked. He is the chosen one of the Heavenly Dragon Continent. Rumor has it that the Plague Demon King and the evil Beast Demon King of the True Devil Empire were killed by him, and they were really killed, not sealed. Feng Yinshan said, in addition, in the finals of the Sacred Dynasty Martial Arts Festival, Ling Xiao even repelled the Yin-Yang Demon King and the Lightning Demon King with a single sword strike, preserving the bloodline of the Sacred Dynasty. So powerful. You must be bragging with his strength? Feng Yanran simply couldn't believe it. I'm not bragging. These things were all witnessed by people, so it shouldn't be fake. Feng Yinshan shook his head and said, actually, there is one more thing that you might be even more surprised about. Is there anything that can surprise me more? Feng Yanran looked at her cousin in bewilderment. Do you know whose son this Ling Xiao is? What does it have to do with us, whose son he is? Feng Yanran completely lost interest, as if he already knew that Feng Yanran would be like this. Feng Yinshan smiled and said, what if I tell you that he is the son of Ji Fuling and Yu Xianyue? What? Feng Yanran suddenly raised her head, and there was a hint of joy in her surprise. Do you understand now? Don't provoke him in the future. Get along well with him. It won't do you any harm. Feng Yinshan smiled. If I had known about this earlier, I definitely wouldn't have made things difficult for him. I didn't expect that Ling Xiao would actually be the son of those two. Those two are the great benefactors of our Phoenix clan. Feng Yanran smiled bitterly. Keep this matter to yourself. Don't tell anyone else. As for the Phoenix Cry Army and Feng Mingyu, I'll send someone to remind them. Feng Yinshan's expression suddenly became solemn. The current atmosphere in Divine Phoenix Empire is a little strange. I keep feeling that something is about to happen. With this additional variable, perhaps it will be beneficial to all of us. Feng Yanran said helplessly, but Ling Xiao crippled Feng Mingyu's martial arts. I'm afraid the Phoenix Cry Army will not let this matter rest. You don't have to worry about that. As long as she doesn't die, this isn't a huge grudge. That Feng Mingyu is used to being arrogant. Just treat this as a lesson. It's beneficial for her. I understand, Big Brother Hidden Mountain. Ling Xiao naturally didn't know about this conversation in Fire Phoenix Palace. He also didn't know that he was the son of the famous Yu Xianyue and Ji Fuling. However, even if he knew, he probably wouldn't have much of a reaction. In the past year or so, he had matured a lot. He was no longer the child who would cry for his parents when he was wronged. After the group entered the city, they headed straight for the Phoenix Academy. The reason why they chose the Phoenix Academy first and not Qingshu College was because Wu Xiang had once studied at the Phoenix Academy, and the Feng Mingxiao that Wu Xiang had asked him to find might still have some kind of relationship with this Phoenix Academy. The Phoenix Academy standard was second only to the Imperial Palace. It was majestic and dignified. In front of the academy was a spacious plaza. A few people stood in the plaza, chatting in groups of 3 to 5. Their expressions revealed a bit of excitement and nervousness. They were probably the same as Ling Xiao and the others, coming to the Phoenix Academy to study. The Phoenix Academy's main gate was a huge bronze door. When the 2 doors were opened, it was more than 20 meters wide. It looked very majestic. At this moment, the door was wide open. Beside it was a huge stone tablet. On it, there were 4 large words engraved in flamboyant calligraphy, Phoenix Academy. These 4 words were incomparably domineering. It was rumored that they were personally written by the first emperor of the divine Phoenix Empire. They emitted a strong domineering aura. Every word emitted a strong aura. Senior Brotherling, I'm a bit worried. Perhaps it was because of the powerful soul pressure emitted by the stone tablet. But Zhao Xi, who had the weakest cultivation, was actually a bit afraid. Don't be afraid. The worst-case scenario is that you won't be able to enter the Phoenix Academy. Ling Xiao comforted her with a smile. Then he wrapped her body with his soul power and blocked the domineering aura from the stone tablet. Only then did Zhao Xi feel a bit better. In the plaza, there were a few martial artists wearing the Phoenix Academy's uniform, sitting in front of a stone table. They were conducting a simple test for each person who came to study. Of course, the Phoenix Academy's gate wasn't that easy to enter. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to fit everyone. There were 2 types of test results. The first type didn't have a letter of recommendation, and the requirements were very high. The other type was to have a recommendation letter and a letter of introduction. The requirements would be much lower. This was called making an exception. Others were not that good. Ling Xiao and the others didn't have a letter of recommendation, so the requirements were naturally higher. However, in Ling Xiao's opinion, it wasn't a problem for them to enter the Phoenix Academy. Of course, the prerequisite was that the test had to be fair. Those who passed the test could register their names and other information. Then they would receive a student card and be considered to have successfully entered the Phoenix Academy. Of course, entering was only the beginning. It didn't mean that everything was fine. This was because the Phoenix Academy and Qingshu College would conduct tests every year. Those who didn't perform well would be expelled. This was also to make room for more outstanding martial artists. Jie. Suddenly, a bird's cry came from the sky. It was actually a fiery red phoenix. This phoenix was rumored to be a close relative of the phoenix. However, it couldn't transform into a human form and was usually used as a mount. However, it was very expensive. If one didn't have enough spirit stones, it was impossible to buy it. The majestic phoenix landed on the plaza, and a young girl jumped down from it. It was actually Feng Mingyu, whose cultivation had been crippled by Ling Xiao. However, what surprised Ling Xiao was that Feng Mingyu's cultivation had actually completely recovered. Not only that, but it had also improved. Interesting. There are indeed many experts in the divine Phoenix continent. They can actually directly recover Feng Mingyu's cultivation. Ling Xiao muttered to himself, "It's not that they're powerful. It's just that you went easy on them. If you destroyed that girl's martial veins, even the gods wouldn't be able to do it." Haim Mian-ko said coldly, "Once we become sworn enemies, it's impossible to resolve." Ling Xiao naturally had his reasons for not being so heavy-handed. He didn't want to become sworn enemies so quickly. Chapter 878. You're indeed thinking far ahead. Of course, I'm not as good as you. La! Haim Mian-ko was stunned for a moment, then laughed bitterly. She had always thought that Ling Xiao was a reckless and daring madman. But now, it seemed that her understanding was wrong. He wanted revenge, but he couldn't become a mortal enemy. It was not easy for him to think so much under such circumstances. Good fellow, he can actually afford the phoenix. This girl's background is not simple. In the crowd, many people looked at Feng Mingyu with jealousy and envy. It's great that you're fine. Who bullied you? Give it to me. I'll help you deal with him." Just as Feng Mingyu kept the phoenix, a young man came over on a golden eagle. That should be a phoenix-tailed golden eagle. It's rumored that it's a cross between a phoenix and a phoenix. It's expensive and definitely not something an ordinary person can afford. This young man is not simple. Isn't that obvious? 100 years ago, the Phoenix Academy only recruited disciples of the royal family. Later on, they started to expand their enrollment. As long as one has a special aptitude and can be called a genius, they have the right to enter. The Royal Academy is really extraordinary. Those who have the right to enter are either disciples of the royal family or monstrous geniuses. If you can enter, even if your cultivation doesn't increase, it's good to make a few friends. In the midst of the discussion, Ling Xiao only smiled. "Hi, Mian-ko, I used to think that you were just SOO, but compared to these people, you're not bad. Ling Xiao, can you not be so sarcastic? Along the way, you've been making fun of me." Haim Mian-ko wanted to be angry, but in front of Ling Xiao, she really couldn't be angry. She owed Ling Xiao too much. Although her personality was still domineering and even a little arrogant, she wasn't a heartless person. Ling Xiao had saved her life, her brother Ji Mingfeng, and even the Grand Holy Emperor and the Holy Emperor who had just passed away. Therefore, she always felt a special sense of guilt towards Ling Xiao. "All right, I won't bully you anymore. I just want to tell you that once you're here, you should put down your identity and train hard. As long as you're strong enough, even if you're not the Holy Son, no one will dare to look at you." Ling Xiao smiled faintly. He was deeply aware of this point. In the past, he was the kind of person who was looked down upon and despised by others. However, today, at least in the heavenly dragon continent, there were very few people who dared to look down on him. "Thank you." Haim Mian-ko nodded and smiled. What's there to laugh about? A bunch of trash that fled from the heavenly dragon continent. They really don't know their own limits. They actually came to the Phoenix Academy to join in the fun. Just as Haim Mian-ko was feeling a little better, she suddenly heard these words, and a strong killing intent appeared on her face. The one who spoke was the young man riding on the phoenix-tailed golden eagle. "I dare you to say another word." Haim Mian-ko's personality was actually more extreme than Ling Xiao's because she grew up in such an environment. In the past, if anyone dared to talk back to her, she would kill them. Now that she was with Ling Xiao, she somewhat restrained herself. However, a leopard could not change its spots. It was not easy to completely change her personality. At this moment, she really had the urge to kill that young man. "Haim Mian-ko, if he says it, we won't lose a single strand of hair. As long as you don't do anything, don't bother. Just treat it as a dog barking." Ling Xiao gently patted her on the shoulder. "That's true. Killing a dog would dirty my sword." Haim Mian-ko took a deep breath. She understood Ling Xiao's deep meaning. After all, this was the entrance of the Phoenix Academy, and they still wanted to join the Phoenix Academy. Well, if they could bear with it, then they would bear with it for the time being. It would not be too late to deal with this group of people after they entered the academy. Ling Xiao's words made the young man's expression turn extremely ugly. Feng Mingyu was stunned for a moment. He obviously recognized Ling Xiao, and there was even a hint of fear in his eyes. He looked at the young man and said, "Lung Chan, registration is more important. Why are you wasting your breath on them?" The young man called Lung Chan glanced coldly at Hai Myung-keo and Ling Xiao and said through gritted teeth, "If today is not the day of registration at the Phoenix Academy, the two of you can forget about living." After saying this, he realized that Ling Xiao, Hai Myung-keo, and the others had already walked to the other side and did not listen to his words at all. "You're pissing me off." Feng Mingyu, what's wrong with you? Normally, when you see these trash from the Heavenly Dragon Continent, you would torture them. Why are you so calm today? Lung Chan looked at Feng Mingyu and asked, "Although I'm a member of the royal family of the Phoenix clan, I don't want to cause trouble outside the Phoenix Academy. You should know that the Dean of the Phoenix Academy is also the state preceptor of the Divine Phoenix Empire. Who dares to offend him?" Feng Mingyu found an excuse to dodge the question. There were actually two reasons why she did not dare to provoke Ling Xiao again. Firstly, the soul imprint in her body could not be removed even by the experts of the clan. This was the key. She was very worried that if she provoked the other party, she would die a tragic death on the spot. Secondly, the Crown Prince, Feng Yinshan, had sent word that they were not to provoke Ling Xiao. The specific reason was not given, but the tone was very serious. Although she was a member of the royal family, her father was just a prince without any authority. If they offended any of the crown princes, it would be very troublesome. That's true. Let's go and register. My mood was spoiled by these trash. It's really unpleasant. Lung Chan was convinced by Feng Mingyu's reason. She shrugged helplessly and followed Feng Mingyu to the stone table to register. Beside the stone table, there was something similar to the testing pillar of the Sacred Dynasty's martial arts festival. This was the potential testing pillar used by the Phoenix Academy to test one's potential. The testing method was very simple. As long as you hit it with a punch, the Academy's teachers would judge your potential based on the result and subtract your cultivation. If it showed a positive number, then it meant that your actual potential was greater than your current strength. If it was a number higher, then you were basically a genius and qualified to enter the Phoenix Academy. If you wanted to wait, or if it showed a negative number, then sorry, you were not qualified. Of course, if you had a recommendation letter or a recommendation letter, you would pass as long as it was not a negative number. After Feng Mingyu's test, the result was that his potential had reached 2 levels, which meant that his strength was 2 levels higher than his actual strength. He definitely passed. It was fine even if he did not have a recommendation letter, not to mention that she had one. After Lung Chan's test, her potential was similar to Feng Mingyu's, and she also successfully entered the Phoenix Academy. "It's your turn." The teacher in charge of the test looked at Ling Xiao and the others and said. At this moment, Lung Chan also noticed them. "How can trash from the Heavenly Dragon Continent be qualified to enter our Phoenix Academy? Don't you even know this little bit of rules?" Lung Chan's voice was filled with disdain and mockery. This was clearly a classic provocation. Chapter 879. He's not wrong. The Phoenix Academy used to recruit martial artists from the Heavenly Dragon Continent, but the rules have been changed recently. No one from the Heavenly Dragon Continent is allowed to enter. The Phoenix Academy teacher said indifferently. There's no exception. Ling Xiao frowned. He heard that Mo Wushang, Qin Bishua by Qian Jiao Hongli and the others were all in the Phoenix Academy. You talk too much. Even if there's an exception, it's not you guys. Hurry up and scram. Before the teacher could say anything, Lung Chan started scolding again. Ling Xiao was puzzled. He didn't offend this idiot. Could it be that he could trample on the dignity of others just because he was a noble? Ha ha ha, well said. If the trash from the Heavenly Dragon Continent wants to enter the Phoenix Academy, they'll have to have a recommendation letter or a letter of recommendation. You idiots dare to join in the fun without anything. Are your brains in a mess? At this moment, a person walked out of the school. It was the former core disciple of the Heavenly King sect, Dao Wuming. The former Dao Wuming probably didn't even dare to speak loudly when he saw Ling Xiao and Haim Myung-ko. Now that he had joined the Phoenix Academy, he was like a pheasant that had turned into a phoenix. He didn't even know who he was anymore. Ling Xiao looked at Dao Wuming with a mocking expression. Haha, in the Heavenly Dragon Continent, you were a dog. Now that you've come to the Divine Phoenix Continent, why have you become someone else's dog? No wonder. Hanging out with this kind of dog who relies on people's power, you're really in cahoots. Snakes and rats from the same nest. Interesting. Ling Xiao's sarcastic words made Dao Wuming and Lung Chan freeze, especially Lung Chan. He really didn't expect that this homeless dog who had fled here would dare to talk back in front of so many people. He even dared to call him a dog? He was really bold. He turned to look at Feng Mingyu and found that Feng Mingyu didn't say anything. He felt a little strange. If it were any other time, Feng Mingyu's flying dagger would have pierced this person's head. Brother Lung, he called you a dog. Dao Wuming took this opportunity to sow discord. Lung Chan was an arrogant person to begin with. Although he understood that Dao Wuming was trying to sow discord, he was still displeased. Being scolded by a Sky Dragon Continent's trash. If he did not dare to talk back, then he would not have the face to stay in the Imperial City in the future. Stinky brat, who are you calling a dog? As Lung Chan spoke, she released a cold aura. It looked like she was about to attack at the slightest disagreement. Everyone knows who I'm scolding. With your little potential, you wouldn't even be qualified to enter the 12 sects in the Heavenly Dragon Continent. I thought the Phoenix Academy was very powerful, but it turns out that it's just a place that hides evil. It's fine if you don't enter. Ling Xiao didn't want to argue with Ling Chan because he didn't want to leave a bad impression on the Phoenix Academy. However, it was obvious that without a recommendation letter, his chances of entering the Phoenix Academy had already been cut off. What was the point of him enduring? Moreover, Lung Chan had repeatedly called him trash. He could pretend that he didn't hear it once or twice, but after being scolded so many times, he really had no choice but to fight back. Humph, you're still talking about the 12 sects. Don't forget that the 12 sects were destroyed by the great True Demon's empire. If it wasn't for the Phoenix Academy's great enrollment day today, I, Dao Wuming, would have crippled you on behalf of the Academy. Dao Wuming relied on the fact that he was a student of the Phoenix Academy and had long forgotten how terrifying Ling Xiao was. He also didn't take Haim Myung-ko seriously. Therefore, his words were really arrogant. Are you done? If you're done, then you can scram if you're not a student of the Phoenix Academy. The Phoenix Academy teacher behind the stone table was already impatient. Although he didn't mention any names, it was obvious that he was targeting Ling Xiao and the others. Then he looked at Lung Chan and Dao Wuming and said, "The two of you are really too much. A few dogs came out of the wild looking for food. Can't you have some compassion? But teacher, you heard it just now. Some people are not only targeting us, they're even scolding the Phoenix Academy." Lung Chan cupped his hands and said, "Son of AB asterisk TCH, I'll just say this. If anyone dares to cause trouble in front of the Phoenix Academy, all the students of the Phoenix Academy have the right to ask them to scram." The Phoenix Academy teacher's words were equivalent to making his attitude very clear. What he meant was to tell Lung Chan and Dao Wuming that even if they were to fight here, they would be helping the Academy get rid of evil and wouldn't be considered breaking the rules. When he heard that, Ling Xiao couldn't help but sigh and say, "If I knew that the Phoenix Academy was like this, I would have gone straight to Qingshu College. If the teacher is like this, then the students will be even worse. Let's go." He was really disappointed. He came to the Divine Phoenix continent to further his studies. He really hoped that the Phoenix Academy and Qingshu College would be truly trustworthy academies. However, first, Feng Yanran from Qingshu College's fledgling Phoenix class sided with her relatives. Then he encountered such a situation in front of the Phoenix Academy. It was no wonder that he was disappointed. Leave? You want to leave after scolding the Phoenix Academy? Do you really think that I, a student of the Phoenix Academy, don't exist? After Lung Chan received the teacher's permission, he no longer had any scruples. In his opinion, he could easily deal with a few good-for-nothings from the heavenly dragon continent by himself. Not only could he relieve the hatred in his heart, but he could also make a name for himself. Although it was a false reputation, people liked false reputations. Unknowingly, more and more people gathered around the Phoenix Academy. Most of them were martial artists in gorgeous clothes. These people were either related to the imperial family or were monstrous geniuses. Seeing that someone actually dared to cause trouble on the day of the Phoenix Academy's enrollment, they couldn't help but become excited. Usually, there wouldn't be such a commotion. After all, most people didn't dare to do such a thing in front of the Phoenix Academy. What a joke! How can a mere Qingshu College compare to our imperial family's Phoenix Academy? That guy is not only stupid, but also has a cheap mouth. Lung Chan, give this guy a few tight slaps. Make him remember where he is. Among the crowd, a dignified young man shouted loudly. Needless to say, he was also a student of the Phoenix Academy. Moreover, he was a noble. In the eyes of these nobles, the Phoenix Academy shouldn't have opened the exception 100 years ago and allowed commoners to enter the academy. An imperial academy should act like one. They shouldn't be like Qingshu College, who didn't understand the situation. Idiot! If Divine Phoenix Academy hadn't made a special exception to allow commoners to enter 100 years ago, they would have long been pressured by Clear Void Academy to the point of being unable to breathe. Just based on you arrogant and conceited fellows. It's fine if you don't bring shame to your family, but you actually want to vainly attempt to change the situation. This tit-for-tat voice didn't come from anyone else. It came from Feng Yanran. After leaving Feng Yinshan's place, she had been looking for Ling Xiao's whereabouts. When she heard that Ling Xiao had come to the Phoenix Academy, she was a little anxious. She only felt relieved when she arrived here. Because Ling Xiao was a martial artist from the heavenly dragon continent and didn't have a letter of recommendation, the Phoenix Academy refused to recruit him. They didn't even give him a chance to take the test. This was the perfect opportunity for Qingshu College. Chapter 880. Feng Yanran. To think that you're a member of the royal family. Why are you so protective of a lowly person? Feng Mingbo. Don't forget that in the past, when the Divine Phoenix Emperor established the Divine Phoenix Empire, he received the support of countless commoners. Tens of thousands of years ago, our Phoenix clan was also commoners, and we were no different from them. Could it be that after being the emperor for so long, he has forgotten the oath of sharing blessings and suffering together? Feng Yanran and Feng Mingbo were at loggerheads. What's the use of talking? I won't waste my breath with you. Those trash are as capable as you. But do you dare to let them compete with Ling Chan? The Fire Phoenix race's surname was Feng. The Ice Phoenix clan's surname was Feng Ming. The former had never forgotten the teachings of the Divine Phoenix Emperor. They chose to live peacefully with the commoners. Although it was impossible to be completely equal, at least they treated the commoners as humans. They had always thought that only the Ice Phoenix clan, the Fire Phoenix clan, the Dark Phoenix clan, the Rock clan, the Thunder Eagle clan, the Vermilion Bird clan, and the Peacock clan, which had the bloodline of the Divine Phoenix, were the true nobles. Only they had the qualifications to enjoy all the authority of the Divine Phoenix Empire. As for the other races, they were all commoners and untouchables, not to mention the foreign humans of the Sky Dragon continent. It was precisely because of this obvious opposition that the two races had never been harmonious. Although the Fire Phoenix tribe had the support of the commoners, the Ice Phoenix tribe had the support of the nobles. Therefore, the number of times the two tribes held the position of emperor was about the same. Over the past tens of thousands of years, the Ice Phoenix tribe had 3 times more than the Fire Phoenix tribe. It was evident that the aristocrats were more powerful. From Feng Mingbo's point of view, although Lung Chan was not an orthodox noble, he was still a member of the Golden Condor clan that had been rising in recent years. He could be considered a new noble. There was no need for his strength. As a heaven meridian cultivator who had broken through, he was even stronger than Feng Mingyu. Moreover, his cultivation was extremely close to the celestial realm. As for those humans, especially that arrogant young man, he looked to be only 15 or 16 years old. It was impossible for him to reach Lung Chan's level in terms of cultivation. In a one-on-one situation, it was impossible for Cold Cicada to lose. That was why they made such a request. I don't think that's a good idea. After all, Lung Chan is a disciple of the Phoenix Academy. She's only a hair's breadth away from advancing to the celestial realm. Isn't that bullying? Feng Mingyu couldn't help but speak up. Of course. She knew how formidable Ling Xiao was. She actually did not want to embarrass Lung Chan by saying these words. Unfortunately, she was too naive and didn't know that it was meaningless. Would a shameless person care if he was bullying others? What a joke! Feng Mingyu, when did you become so compassionate? I heard that your martial arts were crippled. Don't tell me that it was these people who did it? Look at how useless you are. Feng Mingbo sneered. Your cultivation isn't good enough, so it's normal for you to lose to them. However, you've brought shame to our Ice Phoenix clan. You'd better shut your mouth. Otherwise, even if you're my sister, I'll still slap you. I just don't want Ling Chan to suffer. Feng Mingyu panicked and spoke the truth. Little sister you. There's no need for you to be afraid. I know that you've been frightened, which is why you're somewhat afraid of them. However, since they've really injured you, I'll still cripple them today. A look of excitement appeared on Lung Chan's face. It was as if he felt that he was about to display his prowess in front of Feng Mingyu. At that time, Feng Mingyu would definitely throw herself into his arms. Lung Chan, remember, you have to cripple them thoroughly. Destroy their martial veins as well. Don't give that brat any chance. Let these humans remember that this is the divine Phoenix continent, not the heavenly dragon continent. Remember that we are the masters of the divine Phoenix continent. Feng Mingbo's words were even more vicious. Ling Xiao glanced at Feng Mingbo from afar and remembered this person's appearance. They kept calling themselves nobles, but tens of thousands of years ago, they were just a bunch of mixed chickens that followed the human king. They really thought they were something. Lung Chan smiled at Feng Mingbo. Young Master Bo, don't worry. I definitely won't lose face for our divine Phoenix continent. That's good. Everything depends on you. Feng Mingbo didn't take Feng Mingyu's words seriously at all. After all, his sister was only at the 8th level transcendent realm. She was too far away from breaking through to become a heaven vein cultivator. It wasn't strange for someone to cripple his sister, a 9th level transcendent realm cultivator, or any half-step heavenly venerable could do it. However, this kind of cultivation was not worth mentioning in front of Lung Chan, feeling that he represented the entire divine Phoenix continent. Lung Chan felt a little excited and inflated. He looked at Ling Xiao with disdain, his nose almost pointing to the sky, and said coldly, "Lowly human, I'll give you a chance. Kneel on the ground and cripple your own cultivation. Then say I'm a human slut 3 times, and this young master will let you go." Ling Xiao frowned. Why did the nobles of the divine Phoenix continent like to make others kneel on the ground and cripple their own cultivation? And this Lung Chan seemed to be even more ruthless. Not only did he want him to cripple his own cultivation, he also wanted him to shout out those humiliating words. Hearing these words, Feng Mingyu smiled helplessly. She didn't even need to think to know what would happen. She even looked at Lung Chan sympathetically. "Don't worry, I'll be gentle." Then, I'll leave this group of people to you to deal with. Lung Chan mistakenly thought that Feng Mingyu was concerned about him and was immediately overjoyed. Is this guy retarded? Ling Xiao asked Mian Keo, who was beside him. He looks like a retard. Hearing this, the crowd burst into laughter. Lung Chan, you're a retard. Looks like you don't have that much power. Don't embarrass yourself in front of the newcomer. That's right, especially if you lose to a few lowly humans. That would be terrible. Hurry up and do it. Stop talking nonsense. If you continue talking nonsense, I'll think that you're a retard. Words of ridicule and provocation entered Lung Chan's ears. This made Lung Chan very uncomfortable. He felt like a monkey that was being toyed with. It was simply embarrassing. His anger was ignited in an instant. His face was as red as the once famous human Marshal St. Guandi. Lowly human, listen carefully. Today, you'll pay the price for your actions. Originally, I only wanted to cripple you, but now I'm going to cripple all of them. Feng Yanran, who was in the crowd, laughed bitterly. Back then, Feng Mingyu had also threatened Ling Xiao like this. The result was obvious. The smile on Ling Xiao's face finally disappeared. Replacing it was a cold killing intent. Before he came to the divine Phoenix continent, he didn't want to offend anyone because he only wanted to cultivate well. He only wanted to increase his strength and defeat the remaining demon kings of the true demon empire. He even wanted to defeat the true demon emperor, who might appear again. But first it was Feng Mingyu. Now it was Lung Chan. He suddenly felt that his previous thoughts of hiding his strength and biding his time was a mistake. As expected, one couldn't be too low-key. Otherwise, others would think that they were easy to bully. Chapter 881. If you did not let others know of your strength, others would not take you seriously at all. In the future, similar things might happen one after another. Then it would really be endless. Only by letting others know of your strength would the majority have some fear towards you. Even if there were those who acted recklessly, it would also be in the minority after all. Now, immediately, apologize to me immediately, and I can treat it as if nothing happened. Ling Xiao decided to endure it one more time. He planned to give this Lung Chan another chance. Apologize your mother's ass. All of a sudden, Lung Chan exploded and leaped into the air. His right leg was filled with heavenly elemental energy. It was as if a thick giant sword had descended from the sky and pierced towards Ling Xiao. The leg technique was swift and terrifying, mixed with a violent gust of wind. Anyone could tell that this kick would severely injure an ordinary martial artist, even if they didn't die. However, Ling Xiao just stood there with no intention of dodging at all. When Lung Chan's right leg approached, his right hand suddenly extended out like lightning, firmly grabbing Lung Chan's right leg. Lung Chan was stunned for a moment. He did not expect that this heavenly essence energy attack of his would actually be easily blocked by this fellow. Impossible. An even stronger aura erupted. Lung Chan's body entered half-demon state. His original human hand turned into sharp claws, and then ruthlessly grabbed towards Ling Xiao's neck. Incomparably ruthless, the power was even stronger than the previous leg technique. That human is finished. Although he forced Lung Chan into half-demon state, this attack was too sudden. He can't block it at all. Feng Mingbo laughed coldly and said to the people beside him, as if to show that his eyesight was outstanding, he deliberately spoke very loudly. Young Master Bo is wise. Slap. Those praises had not yet landed when suddenly a loud slap rang out. People only saw Lung Chan fly more than 10 meters like he was thrown out trash before smashing onto the stone table. Then, Lung Chan's body began to tremble nonstop. His face revealed a terrified and angry expression, and even some despair. This scene made the entire place fall silent. Lung Chan wanted to cripple that human child, but he was crippled by the other party instead? You crippled me? Lung Chan screamed hysterically. That's right, I crippled you. Ling Xiao said indifferently. You and I are trash from the Sky Dragon continent. You and I are lowly humans. I can't be bothered to bicker with you. After all, you're usually arrogant. Why would you care about others? But you shouldn't have attacked me. I'm not afraid of you. I'm too lazy to bicker with a rotten worm like you. But you're not willing to give up and insist on finding trouble with me. Do you know what you're doing? This is called, if you don't do it, you won't die. You want to cripple me? Then I'll cripple you. Ling Xiao even dared to cripple Feng Mingyu. What was a mere Lung Chan to him? Lung 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 lung. Lung 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 of lung 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 lung. However, this Lung Chan was really an idiot. He thought that others would not dare to touch him. He thought that he could do as he pleased with just a little bit of strength. In the end, he ended up being crippled. Do you really think you have the qualifications to represent the divine Phoenix continent? You're just a pitiful worm that Feng Mingbo pushed to his death. Now get lost. I don't want to see you again. Otherwise, I'll beat you up every time I see you. Ling Xiao glanced at Lung Chan, who was lying on the ground, then gave Haim, Miankeo, and the others a look before turning to leave. Haim, Miankeo did not move. Instead, she looked at Dao Wuming and said, You traitor, I'll take your head with my own hands sooner or later. After saying that, she followed Ling Xiao out of the plaza. Stop him. Lung Chan was about to go crazy. His cultivation was crippled by a slap, and he did not even know how his opponent did it. Compared to his cultivation being crippled, losing face was obviously more important. As a young master of the Golden Condor clan, he naturally had guards with him. Unfortunately, he was too confident earlier and did not ask for help from his guards. Otherwise, he would have been able to withstand a few more blows. Only then did the guards realize what was going on. They all moved to block Ling Xiao's path. Even the phoenix-tailed golden condor leaped into the air, its sharp claws aimed at Ling Xiao's head. The phoenix-tailed golden condor strength was equivalent to a breakthrough heavenly pulse martial artist, which was on par with Lung Chan. However, most beasts had more potential, especially the phoenix-tailed golden condor. Its claws and beak were very sharp, comparable to an immortal artifact. Its combat strength was enough to give some martial artists who had just entered the celestial realm a headache. Well done, Condor. Kill him. Ignorant beast. Death is not to be regretted. Ling Xiao snorted. He then raised his hand, and a bright light broke through the air. Bam! The huge phoenix-tailed golden condor lost its vitality and fell heavily to the ground like a dead chicken. What just happened? I don't know, it looked like a light. What did that young man do? That's too fast. It's not fast, and it's ruthless. He killed the phoenix-tailed golden condor in one blow. It seems like he really showed mercy to Lung Chan, otherwise Lung Chan would have been killed instead of crippled. That's right. Who is this terrifying young man? His name is Ling Xiao, the chosen one of the heavenly dragon continent. He's the one who the true demonic empire has a huge bounty on. Dao Wuming yelled at the top of his lungs. Perhaps he thought that if these people knew about Ling Xiao's identity, Ling Xiao would never have the chance to be a Ning. After all, the true demonic empire's bounty on Ling Xiao was too high. It was as high as the bounty for a Yin-Yang realm criminal. It was a total of 1 million upper spiritual stones, according to the exchange rate of 100 to 1. That was 100 million middle spiritual stones and 10 billion lower spiritual stones. To all the martial artists present, that was a terrifying number and a huge temptation. For a moment, many pairs of unkind gazes were cast towards Ling Xiao. They were filled with greed and excitement. Whoever wants to die, feel free to make a move. I don't mind killing you all like I killed that beast. Ling Xiao was calm as if nothing had happened. He coldly swept his gaze over the crowd, then continued to walk out of the plaza. The crowd surrounding the plaza actually automatically opened up a path for him. All a bunch of trash. With so many people, could it be that you're still afraid of a mere human? You people have really thrown away the face of the divine Phoenix continent. When Feng Mingbo saw this scene, he was truly enraged. Earlier, it was he who told Lung Chan to cripple Ling Xiao. In the end, the one who was crippled was Lung Chan. If this matter were to spread, he, Feng Mingbo, would lose all face. He could feel that his face was burning. Although no one slapped him, he still felt so depressed in his heart that he wanted to vomit blood. Everyone else is trash? What about you? Since you're so brave, why don't you stand out and give it a try? See if you can defeat that brat? Among the nobles, there were also people who were not afraid of Feng Mingbo. After being scolded by Feng Mingbo for no reason, they naturally had to retaliate. Chapter 882. That's right. Feng Mingbo, if you're a man, then teach that human a lesson. If you don't dare, then shut your stinky mouth. Don't show off your royal prestige. We're not afraid. Internal strife? Ling Xiao looked at Feng Mingbo with disdain. He didn't mean to provoke him. He hadn't forgotten his purpose in coming to the divine Phoenix continent. Since he couldn't enter the Phoenix Academy, he could only go to Qingshu College. Feng Mingbo stood there, feeling as if the people around him had suddenly become his enemy. His chest was heaving up and down, and there was anger in his heart that couldn't be vented. All of this was thanks to that lowly human. If he didn't do something today, how could he stand among these aristocratic children in the future? Wouldn't he be laughed at every day? But Feng Mingbo was still a little worried. He didn't know Ling Xiao's strength at all. Just now, Ling Xiao had crippled the breakthrough heaven vein martial artist, Lung Chan, with one blow. Because it was too fast, he couldn't see through Ling Xiao's true cultivation. This person was mysterious and unfathomable. He was really difficult to deal with. But what are you afraid of? He looks like he's only 15 or 16 years old. His strength is at most at the early stage of one-line sky. With this kind of cultivation, defeating Lung Chan is normal. After all, there's a big gap between the heaven realm and the transcendent realm. Another voice roared in Feng Mingbo's heart. Yes, my cultivation is at the late stage of one-line sky. Dealing with a cultivator at the early stage of one-line sky, isn't it easy? The voice in his heart made Feng Mingbo's confidence rise. He had no choice but to fight today. Ling Xiao was just a lowly human, a piece of trash that escaped from the heavenly dragon continent. If she was afraid of such a person, she would be looked down upon even within the Ice Phoenix clan, let alone outside. If he won this battle, then not only could he continue to be carefree, he could also give Qingshu College's Feng Yanran a heavy blow. It was simply the best of both worlds. Thinking of this, he made up his mind. He suddenly lifted his foot and rushed out, blocking the path of Ling Xiao and the others. Brat, you want to leave after injuring someone? Do you really think that the Phoenix Academy is your backyard, where you can come and go as you please? Feng Mingbo's words were filled with an incomparably sinister aura, as if he was a venomous snake spying on its prey. What, you want your cultivation to be crippled as well? Ling Xiao felt that he was already tolerant enough. Just now, this Feng Mingbo kept instigating Lung Chan to deal with him and cripple him, but he just acted as if nothing had happened. But now, this guy was actually blocking his way. He clearly didn't want him to leave just like that. Even a man made of mud would have a temper, not to mention that he didn't like to be taken advantage of. Ha ha ha, cripple me? You'll find out who crippled who in a moment. Feng Mingbo laughed out loud and said, Don't think that just because you defeated Lung Chan, you're still nothing in front of this young master. There was a hint of mockery between Ling Xiao's brows, and he said disdainfully, I only see that you so-called royal nobles have powerful mouths, but when it comes to battle, I'm afraid that you're not even 1/10,000th of that mouth. You're simply useless. As he spoke, he pointed at Lung Chan, who had been helped up by a few guards. The Lung Chan just now was as impressive, as insufferably arrogant as the current Feng Mingbo. He's already cheap enough. I didn't expect you to be even more cheap than him. Ling Xiao shook his head and said, "Get lost. I'm not in the mood to fight with you today before I change my mind." Hee hee. Feng Mingbo, you're not a ball-less idiot, are you? You're being scolded like this, and you're not angry at all? That's right, everyone else is asking you to get lost. If you don't teach them a lesson, I'm afraid that you, young Master Bo, will become young Master Ruo, ha 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 ha. The aristocrats weren't that harmonious. Apart from the Fire Phoenix clan and the Ice Phoenix clan, the other aristocrats also wanted to get involved in the emperor's election. During this period of time, they were constantly making moves, so it was normal for them to be sarcastic and mocking Feng Mingbo now. Want these aristocrats to unite? Unless there were commoners who rebelled. Hearing these words, Feng Mingbo's eyes flickered with a sinister, killing intent. If Ling Xiao had given in to him, he would still have a way out, but he didn't expect Ling Xiao's attitude to be so unyielding. He no longer had any way out, so he could only make a move. Everyone has to be responsible for their words. In the Sky Dragon continent, you're the chosen one, but in the Divine Phoenix continent, you're just a lowly human. Feng Mingbo's pupils constricted to the extreme, and a cold light shot out, as if he could make a move at any time. That's right. Everyone has to be responsible for their words. Ling Xiao smiled coldly and took a step forward. A terrifying killing intent erupted and collided with Feng Mingbo's aura. You keep calling me a lowly human, a trash of the Sky Dragon continent. Do you understand the consequences of this? You and I are just lowly humans in the Divine Phoenix continent, but what about you? In my eyes, you're just a beast that can be slaughtered at will. You dare call me a beast? Feng Mingbo's entire body was trembling. His eyes were like a viper staring at Ling Xiao, and he was on the verge of exploding. I, Feng Mingbo, was born in an imperial family. I've been practicing martial arts since I was a child, and my talent is outstanding. I'm only 19 years old, and my cultivation has already reached the late stage of the one-line sky realm. Compared to me, you're nothing. You're just a lowly human, are you wrong? A terrifying aura burst out from Feng Mingbo's body and turned into a fierce, cold air, completely enveloping Ling Xiao. The strength of the late stage of the one-line sky realm was completely displayed, as if he wanted to subdue the enemy without fighting. He wanted to make Ling Xiao kneel in front of him and bow his head. Boom! Ling Xiao took another step forward, and his terrifying killing intent became even stronger. That aura seemed to have condensed into an unparalleled devil sword, and it still moved with ease within the cold air. I, Ling Xiao, am just a commoner with poor aptitude. I don't have any elders to guide me, and no one has prepared cultivation resources for me. But I'm only 15 years old, and I can rely on my own efforts to defeat a one-line sky realm martial artist. I've also killed the Plague Demon King, the Evil Beast Demon King, and repelled the Yin-Yang Demon King and the Lightning Demon King. In front of me, you're just a worm. What do you have to compare with me? That's right, his cultivation was not as good as Feng Mingbo's, but he was able to defeat Feng Mingbo. This was even more terrifying than having a similar cultivation. Looking at Ling Xiao's violent aura and listening to the two kinds of power colliding with each other, everyone was incomparably shocked. This Ling Xiao was truly worthy of being the Heavenly Dragon Continent's chosen one. Not to mention his cultivation. Just this battle record alone was definitely more monstrous than Feng Mingbo's. In front of Ling Xiao, Feng Mingbo was not even worth a fart. Although they were unwilling to admit it, this was the truth. Whether it was Ling Xiao's courage or experience, he far surpassed Feng Mingbo. Chapter 883. If this person can't join the Phoenix Academy, then I'm afraid it will be the Phoenix Academy's loss. This time, Qingshu College has made a huge profit. Many people in the crowd thought to themselves. Feng Yanran was even more excited. Earlier today, although she met Ling Xiao, she didn't realize that Ling Xiao was such an amazing person. So when her cousin Feng Yinshan mentioned that Ling Xiao was the son of those two, she didn't quite believe it. But at this moment, she believed it. Only the sons of those two could be so courageous and heroic. Lung Chan, who was standing at the side, was annoyed when he heard this. If he knew that this person was the chosen one of the heavenly dragon continent, he wouldn't have touched him even if he was beaten to death. Although this person's reputation in the divine Phoenix continent wasn't as great as in the heavenly dragon continent, he was still known by the people of the two great academies. Some teachers even used this person as a model to teach their students. He glared fiercely at Dao Wuming. If Dao Wuming had told him who this person was, he wouldn't have had his cultivation crippled. But fortunately, his martial veins weren't crippled, so there was still a chance for his cultivation to recover. It seemed that the other party had indeed been merciful. At this moment, Feng Mingbo, who was standing there, was clearly taller than Ling Xiao by a head, but in the eyes of the crowd he was completely dwarfed. He was close to 2 meters tall, but compared to Ling Xiao, he seemed like a childish child. When Ling Xiao was rebuking the world, he, Feng Mingbo, could only fight bravely at the table. He hadn't even been on the battlefield once. In terms of aura, Feng Mingbo had completely lost. He had lost in a complete mess. He originally planned to use his powerful cultivation to suppress Ling Xiao and make Ling Xiao admit defeat. This way, he could avoid an uncertain battle. But the development of the situation was completely different from what he expected. The one who was suppressed wasn't Ling Xiao, but him. Ling Xiao's aura was too strong. Standing in front of him was like a boundless world, making him seem incomparably small. "Kneel!" Suddenly, a thunderous voice came out of Ling Xiao's mouth. The terrifying effect of the secret soul technique struck Feng Mingbo's soul directly. Plop! Feng Mingbo actually knelt on the ground, his whole body covered in cold sweat. Whoosh! At this moment, the crowd was in chaos. Although he had lost to Ling Xiao in terms of aura, a noble, a member of the royal family, had actually knelt in front of a lowly human. No one would believe this. No. What sorcery did you use? Not long after Feng Mingbo knelt down, he stood up again and roared with a hysterical voice. Losing face was even more unbearable than being killed. Sorcery. Ling Xiao laughed disdainfully. You're not good enough and can't stand the pressure of my aura, so you actually use some demonic technique on me. Bastard. I want you to die today. Feng Mingbo was completely enraged. Show me your martial soul. I won't bully a human without a martial soul. As he spoke, the image of a phoenix appeared behind Feng Mingbo's back. His body also began to undergo some magical changes and entered a half-demon state. I don't need a martial soul to deal with you, Ling Xiao said indifferently. You, on the other hand, have really wasted the divine phoenix bloodline. You have such a high-grade bloodline, but your cultivation is a mess. All right, then let's try. Feng Mingbo finally couldn't hold it in anymore. In a fit of rage, he attacked with both fists. 2 balls of cold aura wrapped around his fists. His aura instantly exploded, as if it could explode at any time, producing a terrifying power. Ling Xiao only smiled faintly, using his finger as a sword. That seemingly ordinary finger instantly turned into a sharp weapon to subdue demons. The murderous aura that condensed on his finger actually made Feng Mingbo feel a terrifying aura of death. No, I'm actually scared. Feng Mingbo couldn't believe that he had lost before the battle. His opponent hadn't even made a move, and he was already scared. Are you scared? Ling Xiao's voice rang in his ears. Feng Mingbo sucked in a breath of cold air. At this moment, his entire world seemed to be locked by a sharp sword qi. No matter where he ran, he couldn't escape. He even felt that his body was already riddled with holes and blood was flowing out. However, this was just an illusion brought to him by the terrifying pressure. No, I don't believe it. Feng Mingbo wasn't willing to wait for death like this. He crazily increased his strength in an attempt to block Ling Xiao's seemingly casual but shockingly terrifying attack. Pucci! He felt a real pain coming from his body. Then he realized that his protective heavenly essence energy had been easily penetrated. A bloody hole had appeared on his hands. This time, it wasn't an illusion. It was a real wound. However, his opponent's finger was still a foot away from him. What was going on? He didn't have time to think. He didn't dare to fight Ling Xiao head-on. In front of everyone, he turned around and ran. The dazzling ice phoenix wings stretched out from his back, and his speed was raised to the extreme. However, no matter how fast he was, he still couldn't escape the lock of Ling Xiao's finger sword. "Come down!" Lightly spitting out 3 words, the sword qi on Ling Xiao's fingertip pierced through the air. Feng Mingbo, who had just soared 4 to 5 meters high, tilted his body and fell heavily to the ground. The crystal-like ice phoenix phantom blocked in front of Ling Xiao, attempting to stop Ling Xiao from continuing his attack. A mere bloodline power dares to block me? Destroy! Ling Xiao snorted coldly. The qi on his fingertip became even more ferocious. The huge ice phoenix phantom instantly collapsed, turning into ice shards that filled the sky and disappeared without a trace. Feng Mingbo lay on the ground, looking at Ling Xiao in horror like a dead dog. There was actually a penetrating wound on his legs. Drops of blood kept dripping out from the bloody hole. What a horrifying sight! Terrifying! He didn't expect the power of this youth's finger to be so terrifying. Was this a sword technique? It was really as he said. There was no need to use his martial soul to deal with Feng Mingbo. He didn't even need to use his weapon. Just a casual finger was enough to end the battle. Just how terrifying was this youth's strength? That was Feng Mingbo, a 19-year-old heaven realm martial artist. In the heavenly dragon continent, he was a genius second only to the Holy Sun. Even in the divine Phoenix continent, he was definitely not weak. Among those of the same age, he was definitely one of the stronger ones. But this Ling Xiao was too terrifying. His strength was unfathomable. It made people feel mysterious and fearful. Haim Miankeo, who was standing beside Ling Xiao, secretly smiled bitterly. Sure enough, no matter where this person went, he was as brilliant as the sun. She had also once defeated a one-line sky martial artist with the cultivation of a breakthrough stage heaven vein martial artist. But that was a Pyrrhic victory. After winning, she could barely move and almost lost her life. However, Ling Xiao won so easily. If she was a super genius, then what was Ling Xiao? Chapter 884. A super monster? A super monster? A super genius among super geniuses? It seemed that no words could describe the terror of this youth. He had really surpassed his peers by too much. It was not a difference in cultivation, but a difference in martial arts attainments. That finger, just now, was clearly a sign of sword intent reaching completion. Sword intent was very important to martial artists or swordsmen who use swords. Some people thought that sword intent was illusory, but it was not. Sword intent truly existed, from entry to completion, from completion to completion, from completion to perfection, from perfection to perfection, from perfection to perfection, from perfection to manifestation, from manifestation to general momentum, from general momentum to nuance, from nuance to profound, and finally to the realm of man and sword as one. I am the sword, and the sword is me. Whether it was slaughter sword intent or destruction sword intent, they were just practical methods of sword intent. The existence of sword intent was a comprehensive improvement to a swordsman, including lethality, willpower, speed, sword moves, and so on. Ling Xiao's sword intent before was only at entry level, so it could only intimidate the enemy, but not much practical use. However, now that sword intent had reached completion, it could already cause substantial damage. Just now, when he used his finger as a sword, it was the sword intent that wrapped around his finger and fused with heavenly essence energy to cause explosive damage. An ordinary finger sword was not that powerful. Just sword intent was already so terrifying. Then when he reached the realm of man and sword as one, how powerful would he be? Haim Miankeo could not help but suck in a breath of cold air, shocked in her heart. She also used a sword, but her sword intent was still unable to awaken. This was probably the biggest reason why she lost to Ling Xiao back then. Sometimes the gap between martial artists was not just a matter of cultivation level. Cultivation level was just a reference point. Interesting. Sword intent has just reached completion, and it's already so powerful. It seems that I'm on the right path. Ling Xiao was also pleasantly surprised. In the past, because he had many attacking methods, he did not deliberately study sword intent. It was completely casual. However, in the Nine Cauldrons illusory realm, he finally realized the wonderful use of sword intent. As a swordsman, there was no need to learn other martial skills. Just the sword alone was enough to study for a lifetime. With the combination of the mountain and river martial spirit, it was not impossible to dominate the entire profound world. As for becoming one with the sword, Ling Xiao did not think too much about it. That was still a very distant goal. Only by continuously completing one goal after another could the ultimate goal be achieved. What are you doing? Seeing Ling Xiao destroy his ice phoenix phantom, Feng Mingbo struggled to crawl back a few steps and then asked in fear. Just a moment ago, Feng Mingbo was still arrogant and overbearing, but now he was really like a dog, battered and exhausted. He had previously mocked Ling Xiao as a lowly human and a piece of trash, but now he looked even more like a piece of trash. He couldn't even withstand a casual finger attack from Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao walked forward without a trace of sympathy on his face. Those who insult others will be insulted by others. This was his logic. With a disdainful sneer, Ling Xiao looked down at Feng Mingbo, who was lying on the ground, and said, "Noble? Outstanding talent? Heaven-tier martial artist? Young genius? Now it seems that your so-called high-sounding words are really not suitable for you. My words are more appropriate. You're just a parasite that lives on a huge family. I'm a lowly human. Then you, who can't even withstand a single move from me, are more like an animal raised by humans?" His words were sharp like a knife, directly cutting Feng Mingbo's heart. It was also like a slap on Feng Mingbo's face, causing Feng Mingbo's whole body to tremble. His face was pale, and he was in so much pain that he wished he was dead. And this time not only Feng Mingbo, but those people from the Phoenix Academy also seemed to have been slapped in the face. Their faces were extremely ugly. Just a moment ago, they still regarded Ling Xiao as a piece of trash and instigated Feng Mingbo to cripple Ling Xiao. And now, not only did Ling Xiao cripple the disciple of the Phoenix Academy, Lung Chan, he also easily defeated the disciple of the royal family, Feng Mingbo, whom they had high hopes for. It was laughable that their Phoenix Academy looked down on such a person. Others were lowly humans. Then what about those who were defeated by this lowly human? Were they really as useless as animals, as Ling Xiao said? The dignified Phoenix Academy is only SO. Luckily, I don't have a recommendation letter. Otherwise, I'm afraid my future will be ruined. Of course, this was only sarcasm. Ling Xiao also knew in his heart that since the Phoenix Academy was so famous in the divine Phoenix continent, it naturally wouldn't be fake. It was normal to have some black sheep, but the Academy's attitude towards him made him very unhappy. They didn't even give him a chance and even allowed their disciples to attack him. From this, it could be seen how the Academy's atmosphere was like. He took a deep breath and no longer looked at Feng Mingbo, who was lying on the ground. He turned around and walked out of the crowd. Haim, Miankeo, and the others naturally followed, closely behind. How my Phoenix Academy is, it's not up to a human like you to judge. No matter how outstanding you are, with your character, our Phoenix Academy will definitely not accept you. At this moment, the Phoenix Academy teacher who had been watching from the sidelines suddenly opened his mouth. These words weren't pleasant to hear. Ling Xiao sighed. If even the teacher was like this, it was obvious how the Academy's atmosphere was like. He didn't turn around and continued walking forward. He only wanted to leave this place that had disappointed him. How dare you? Do you think you can leave so easily after beating up my Phoenix Academy's disciple? If you don't explain clearly who sent you here to cause trouble, don't even think about leaving. When the teacher saw that Ling Xiao actually ignored him, he was even more furious. He suddenly shot out and blocked the path of Ling Xiao and the others. You guys leave first. Wait for me at Qingshu College. Ling Xiao transmitted his voice to Haim Miankeo and the others. Only when they left would Ling Xiao be able to find a chance to escape. Be careful. Along the way, Haim Miankeo and the others had already seen how powerful Ling Xiao was, especially Ling Xiao's ability to escape. Therefore, they didn't hesitate and quickly left through the crowd. No one stopped them. After all, the main culprit today was Ling Xiao. After dealing with Ling Xiao, the few of them wouldn't be able to escape. After Haim, Miankeo, and the others left, Ling Xiao took a deep breath and looked at the Phoenix Academy teacher in front of him. His character was improper. His intentions were unfathomable. Was he sent by someone to cause trouble? To think that this old guy would say something like that. Hearing the teacher's words, the Phoenix Academy's disciples were all excited. Although Ling Xiao had no choice and was forced to make a move, who would care about that? Anyway, he had caused trouble in front of the Phoenix Academy. No matter how big a label was put on him or how much dirty water was poured on him, he had to bear with it. The Phoenix Academy's people had mocking and smug smiles on their faces. Since the teacher had stepped in, even if Ling Xiao had 3 heads and 6 arms, he would be in trouble. After all, to be qualified to work at the Phoenix Academy, even the most ordinary teacher was very powerful. Chapter 885. In the crowd, Feng Yanran and many passers-by were indignant. It was obvious that this Phoenix Academy teacher was trying to confuse right and wrong. He wanted to find a reason to deal with Ling Xiao. The passers-by didn't dare to say anything because they didn't want to be unlucky. Otherwise, they would be labeled as the troublemaker and wouldn't be able to escape. Feng Yanran was anxiously waiting for something. Although she was an elite disciple of Qingshu College's Young Phoenix class, she was still far behind the Phoenix Academy's teachers. Moreover, everyone knew that the imperial advisor behind the Phoenix Academy was on the side of the Ice Phoenix clan's crown prince. He had a very good relationship with Phoenix clan's Qishan. Even if she was Feng Yanran, this person would probably only give face to the crown prince, Feng Yinshan. At this moment, she could only wait for her cousin, Feng Yinshan, to appear. Perhaps he could save Ling Xiao's life. She only hoped that Ling Xiao wouldn't provoke this Phoenix Academy teacher anymore. Otherwise, it would be too late. However, her hopes were dashed. Ling Xiao's face was filled with mockery and sarcasm as he said, "Are all the Phoenix Academy teachers as shameless as you? When Leng Chan wanted to attack me, you didn't mind. When Feng Mingbo wanted to kill me, you just looked on coldly. What? Now that I've defeated them, I'm being sent by others to cause trouble? Your shamelessness has really reached a new level." Impudent! The teacher shouted and interrupted Ling Xiao's words. His eyes were filled with cold, killing intent as he said angrily, "I don't need a human like you to remind me of what I've done. Do you really think that you can disregard our Phoenix Academy just because you defeated Feng Mingbo and Leng Chan? In my eyes, you're just a pitiful and arrogant ant." Ling Xiao smiled slightly. That was true. In the mystic world, strength was respected, and the strong were respected. With strength, not only could one be overbearing and rude, they could also invert right and wrong and call a deer a horse. In terms of cultivation, this teacher from Phoenix Academy really had the right to treat him like an ant. However, experts also needed to have morals. Not every expert was so shameless. This person made Ling Xiao feel nauseous and disgusted by Ling Xiao. A typical double-standard dog. What was beneficial to him was right, and what was harmful to him was wrong. This teacher of mine, as a teacher, should at least be reasonable. It was clearly Lung Chan and Ling Xiao who made the first move. Why did he blame Ling Xiao in the end? Feng Yanran was afraid that the teacher would make a move, so she couldn't help but speak. Seeing her, Ling Xiao was a little puzzled. Didn't this woman want to protect Feng Mingyu and go against him? Why did she change her mind now? Miss Yanran, as a member of the royal family, you joined Qingshu College. This in itself is a disgrace to the royal family. Today's matter is a family matter of the Phoenix Academy. It's not your place to interfere. The teacher from Phoenix Academy didn't give Feng Yanran any face at all because he knew that his backer was Feng Mingyu Mountain. Therefore, there was no need to give Feng Yanran any face. He is not a member of Phoenix Academy. Perhaps he will become a disciple of Qingshu College soon. How can this be a family matter of yours? Feng Yanran's eyes were a little cold. No matter how bad she was still a member of the Fire Phoenix clan and a member of the royal family. The teacher in front of her was just a servant of the Ice Phoenix clan. How dare he speak to her like this? Which made her a little unhappy. Wait until he becomes a disciple of Qingshu College. The teacher snorted and wasn't afraid of Feng Yanran at all. Feng Yanran seemed to want to say something more, but she was stopped by Ling Xiao. Miss, although I don't know why you are helping me, it won't be easy for him to deal with me. Shameless boasting. Feng Mingbo struggled and roared. However, Ling Xiao only glanced at him, and he immediately trembled and didn't dare to say a word. Teacher from Phoenix Academy, you stopped me. I came to your Phoenix Academy to make trouble. Although I am distorting the truth, I really want to know what you want to do with me. Ling Xiao asked with interest. According to the rules, you injured a disciple of Phoenix Academy and destroyed Lung Chan's cultivation. This should be a capital offense. Even if I kill you, it won't be too much. The teacher narrowed his eyes and said, however, considering that this is your first offense, I don't want to make things difficult for you. As long as you sign a slave contract with the Phoenix Academy and swear to be loyal to the Phoenix Academy for the rest of your life, I can spare your life. When he said this, he spoke in a completely casual tone, as if this was a very ordinary matter that was simply insignificant. This guy was really ruthless. He probably also saw that Ling Xiao was very talented and had a lot of potential. If this guy was allowed to enter Qingshu College and was even won over by the Fire Phoenix tribe, he would definitely become a great enemy of the Ice Phoenix tribe. Therefore, there were only two choices: kill him to prevent future troubles, or sign a slave contract and make Ling Xiao a slave for the rest of his life. The slave contract was a very evil secret scroll. After signing it, unless the caster released the spell, it was really difficult to get rid of this terrifying secret scroll that reached directly to one's soul. In this teacher's opinion, as long as Ling Xiao signed this contract, he wouldn't have to kill him. Not only would this add a super fighter to the Phoenix Academy, but it would also prevent Ling Xiao from joining other forces. It was the best of both worlds. After all, Ling Xiao had just said that he wanted to enter Qingshu College. Slave? That's really easy. Are you trying to ruin my life? Ling Xiao's expression turned cold. This slave contract was even more cruel and ruthless than crippling one's cultivation. A dignified martial arts expert was actually so despicable. No wonder he didn't have much success despite his age. However, he had to admit a reality. No matter who you were, no matter how talented you were, no matter how outstanding you were, as long as you weren't a match for others, you were a weakling. Weaklings didn't even have the right to choose how to die. You could be treated however others wanted to treat you. However, Ling Xiao wasn't afraid of this Phoenix Academy teacher in front of him. This was because even if they fought today, he could still leave calmly. More importantly, the butterfly girl had woken up. Ling Xiao put the butterfly back into the Mountain River world. The current Mountain River world was as vast as the universe. However, the butterfly was able to dance in this vast space, and it even seemed to be very comfortable. The butterfly was much stronger than this Phoenix Academy teacher in front of him. If Ling Xiao was really in danger, it would naturally do its best to help. The incident at the martial arts festival was a very clear example. Although the butterfly was innocent, it really didn't care who the enemy was when it went berserk. Just as a huge battle was about to break out, a voice broke the tense atmosphere. Chapter 886. Forget it. Teacher, give him a chance. If he's willing to join the Phoenix Academy, we'll pretend that nothing happened today. After all, it's rare to see a youth with such talent. The speaker was a woman who was older than Feng Mingyu and about the same age as Feng Yanran. Her voice was gentle and calm, without a trace of emotion, but it carried an unquestionable aura. Her face couldn't be seen clearly because she was wearing a veil. However, her eyes were really moving, revealing an otherworldly charm. Her figure was also envied by many women. She was Phoenix Cry's Piao Shui, an enchanting woman. Although she was a member of the Ice Phoenix clan, she rarely showed herself in public. However, she had a lot of authority in the Ice Phoenix clan. She actually appeared and pleaded for Ling Xiao. This really surprised many people, and they started to suspect Ling Xiao's identity. If Ling Xiao was only the chosen one of the heavenly dragon continent, Phoenix Cry's Piao Shui probably wouldn't appear. The teacher didn't have to give Feng Yanran face, but he didn't dare to do so in front of Phoenix Cry's Piao Shui. Since Miss Piao Shui has said so, I naturally have no problem with it. What about you? What do you want? The Phoenix Academy teacher's tone reminded Ling Xiao of when he was still a beggar. Those richly dressed rich kids would greet him with leftovers as if they were dogs. At that time, he had no choice because he was a beggar. If he didn't get his food, he would die. He didn't have the right to choose, but now he had the right to choose. He practiced martial arts because he didn't want to return to the life of a beggar. He was very disdainful of this person's tone. Others might think that Phoenix Cry's Piao Shui was an unquestionable person, but Ling Xiao didn't know this person at all. He also didn't plan to join the Phoenix Academy. Sorry, I'm not interested in joining the Phoenix Academy at all. His voice was neither servile nor overbearing. The world was big, and there was always a place for Ling Xiao. Even if the entire divine Phoenix continent couldn't accommodate him, he could still move on to the next destination. It wasn't a big deal. What? When the Phoenix Academy teacher heard this, he frowned, and a cold aura rushed toward Ling Xiao. You're an idiot who refuses a toast only to drink a forfeit. I'm giving you a chance to join the Phoenix Academy without signing a slave contract, and you don't want to do it? Do you want to die? Teacher, Piao Shui's Piao Shui. Piao Shui Piao 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 Shui. Piao, Piao Shui Piao, and Piao Shui and Piao. Ling Xiao, I'm sure you've heard of Divine Phoenix Academy's fame. If you really want to become strong, then choosing to join this place is definitely not a mistake. Besides that, you have to understand that I'm not begging you to join. I'm just unwilling to let a talent like you fall. That's why I'm giving you a chance. Don't miss it. No need. If it was only the front part, Ling Xiao might have been a little tempted. After all, one cannot see Mount Tai for a single leaf. What he saw might not necessarily be the entirety of Divine Phoenix Academy. If someone really sincerely invited him to join, he naturally would not refuse. However, the second part of the girl's sentence made him uncomfortable. That high and mighty arrogance really reminded him of Haim, Myung Ko. Ling Xiao had climbed up from the bottom, so he was disgusted by such a high and mighty tone. He used to be a beggar, so he hated it when others treated him like a beggar and gave him charity. Otherwise, what was the point of cultivating so hard for the past year? A murderous look appeared in the teacher's face as he thought to himself, this Brett really doesn't know what's good for him. But it's good that he offended Miss Piao Shui, so I won't have to worry about killing him. You dare to reject my good intentions? Piao Shui seemed to be surprised. In this world, there weren't many people who dared to reject her good intentions. I, Ling Xiao, am not worthy of Miss Good Intentions. Can I leave now?" The more he stayed with this girl, the more disgusted Ling Xiao became. He just wanted to leave this damned place now. Everyone here seemed to be so high and mighty, looking down on others with their nostrils. This feeling was really uncomfortable. "Brother Ling, listen to my advice. Miss Piao Shui doesn't like to help others. She only helps those she thinks are valuable." Another person walked out of the academy. It was actually by Qianjiao. Hong Li was walking with her. It hadn't been long, and the cultivation of these two people had improved at a godly speed. "Senior sister, why are you trying to persuade him? You know how stubborn this person is." Hong Li grumbled at the side. Bai Qianjiao sighed and said, "No matter what, I don't want to see a peerless genius like Brother Ling fall." "Don't worry, he won't fall." Suddenly, a voice came from afar, and then a person flew over. He had white hair and a youthful face. It was probably this kind of person. The person who came looked extremely young, but his hair was completely white. He was dressed in white and looked cultured and elegant. There was actually a bit of a mortal aura about him. "Hey, isn't that the Vice Dean of Qingshu College?" "That's right, it's him." "What's going on?" "This Ling Xiao is just a human. How did he attract the Vice Dean?" "I don't know. I don't know what's going on either. My mind is in a mess." Not only were the onlookers confused, but even Ling Xiao himself was confused. He was just an ordinary martial artist who came to the Divine Phoenix continent to study. He had never had any contact with the Divine Phoenix continent, although he had shown a certain level of talent. It was impossible for the Vice Dean of Qingshu College to come out for him. Seeing this person, Piao Shui and the teacher from the Phoenix Academy had to bow their heads and salute. Although this person was the Vice Dean of Qingshu College and not the Vice Dean of Phoenix Academy, he was powerful and respected. He was definitely not someone they could go against. Everyone, although Ling Xiao hurt a disciple of the Phoenix Academy, there was a reason for it. "I think it won't be good for anyone if we look into it." After the Vice Dean landed, he first nodded and smiled at Ling Xiao as a greeting. Then he said to the people from the Phoenix Academy, "How about this? Qingshu College will help Lung Chan recover her cultivation. As for the Phoenix Cry Boom, we, the Qingshu College, are willing to provide a set of precious jade grade martial arts as compensation. What do you think?" This method was actually giving the Phoenix Academy a lot of face. After all, if this matter was investigated and brought to the Emperor, the Phoenix Academy would be the one to suffer in the end. Not only would they not receive any compensation, but they might also lose a lot. Hearing this, the teacher from the Phoenix Academy could not help but feel nervous. Today's matter had reached this point. It was really not something he could solve. Chapter 887. Ha ha ha, old Phoenix Qinyan. You dare to show off in our Phoenix Academy? Someone flew out from the Phoenix Academy amidst the laughter. "Brother Wanchong, how have you been?" Feng Qinyan cupped his hands and smiled. "Don't try to worm your way into being friends with me. I don't care about the things you gave me as compensation. The Phoenix Academy doesn't need it either. It's easy to take this person away. Fight with me. If you win, you leave. If you lose, you stay." Feng Ming Wanchong said, "Oh my God, the meeting of these two vice deans is simply like heavenly lightning meeting earthly fire. Things are going to be bad." "That's right. I heard that Clear Void Academy's Vice Principal Qin Yan and Divine Phoenix Academy's Phoenix Cry Wanzhong have always been opponents. They've been fighting since they were young, all the way until now. Every month they would exchange blows. Now, both of them have won and lost, and the amount of wins and losses are actually exactly the same. Otherwise, why would they fight each other as soon as they meet? Their strength is on par with each other." The crowd began to discuss among themselves. Ling Xiao was also quite surprised to hear this. Today's events were really strange. He thought that the matter would be solved after he left. He didn't expect it to develop to this stage. The two vice deans were going to fight. "You can fight, But if you lose, not only will I take Ling Xiao away, but he will also have to apologize to Ling Xiao." Feng Qingyan pointed at the teacher from Divine Phoenix Academy and said, "No problem. Let's start." This phoenix cry, Wanchong looked like a reckless person. He would not take that teacher from Divine Phoenix Academy seriously at all. Even if Feng Qingyan wanted that guy's life, Feng Ming Wanchong would agree without hesitation. Moreover, it was just an apology. Let's fight. Feng Qingyan and Feng Ming Wanchong's aura suddenly erupted. The whole square of Phoenix Academy seemed to be thrown into a blazing hell. Bang! However, the fight only lasted for a moment. The two retreated. Feng Qingyan smiled. Feng Ming Wanchong was unhappy. "You apologized to that guy." Feng Ming Wanchong turned and left. It was clear that he had lost this exchange. Even though the Phoenix Academy's teacher was extremely unwilling, he didn't dare to disobey Phoenix Cry Wanchong's order. He could only apologize to Ling Xiao. Right now, he didn't even dare to curse Ling Xiao, let alone kill Ling Xiao. Everyone sighed. Could this Ling Xiao be related to some expert from the Divine Phoenix continent? That's right. Otherwise, why would an expert like Feng Qingyan take action? While everyone was discussing, Feng Qingyan looked at Ling Xiao and smiled. "You're Ling Xiao, right? I'm Feng Qingyan, Senior Feng." Ling Xiao had always been a person who respected others tenfold. Since this person had helped him, he naturally wouldn't treat him coldly. "Well, someone asked me to recruit you into Qingshu College. Are you willing?" Feng Qingyan asked. "May I ask who this person is?" Ling Xiao asked curiously. "That won't do. I promised to keep it a secret. But don't worry, Qingshu College doesn't force anyone to take in disciples. If you're willing, you can join. Qingshu College is very free. It's different from the sects on the Heavenly Dragon continent. As long as you pay the tuition, you can enter and leave freely." Feng Qingyan replied, "Of course I'm willing." Compared to other people, there was really a huge difference. If Feng Ming Piao Shue's attitude was the same as Feng Qingyan's, Ling Xiao would probably agree to join the Phoenix Academy. "Okay, but I won't let you go through the back door. You'll have to take the test." Feng Qingyan smiled. "Of course, with your talent, you should be able to enter Qingshu College. Your friends have already entered the academy. Don't worry." Hearing this, the Phoenix Academy's disciples shook their heads helplessly. Although they didn't like Ling Xiao, they knew how much potential Ling Xiao had and how high his talent was. For such a talent to enter the Qingshu Academy like this, it really made people feel helpless. "Thank you, Senior Feng." Ling Xiao turned his head and looked at Feng Yanran in the crowd. He wondered if this girl had helped him. But if it was really her, why? Although he was confused, it was a good thing to be able to enter Qingshu College. The two major academies were on par with each other in the Divine Phoenix continent. Being able to enter one of them was a victory. Usually, the academies wouldn't interfere with the students' actions. However, they had a set of rules and regulations. If the students violated the rules, they would be punished accordingly. Ling Xiao didn't need any special treatment. He just wanted to be treated fairly. Maybe Qingshu College could really fulfill his request. "Then I'll take my leave first. You can report to Qingshu College with Yanran later. She'll guide you on what to do after you enter." After saying this, Feng Qingyan turned into a red flame and disappeared. She came and went in a hurry, but she left a deep impression on Ling Xiao. After that, Ling Xiao followed Feng Yanran to Qingshu College. Compared to the domineering and majestic Phoenix Academy, Qingshu College was more ethereal and mysterious. Standing on top of an ethereal mountain surrounded by dense trees, it gave people the feeling of a hermit. "Let's get to know each other again. My name is Feng Yanran." Standing in front of Qingshu College, Feng Yanran bowed solemnly and said, "You're welcome. My name is Ling Xiao. I guess you've already done your research." Ling Xiao wasn't a person who held grudges. As long as the other party didn't pester him for revenge, he was fine with it. You're a genius who rose like a comet. Just based on this, you're qualified to enter Phoenix Academy. It's a pity that they don't have that luck. Phone, Yanran smiled. Forget it. Let's not talk about that. Show me around the college. Ling Xiao shook his head. Whatever happened before, it was over. If the people from the Divine Phoenix Academy did not come to provoke him, he did not want to stir up any trouble. Right now, all he wanted to do was to raise his cultivation level. Everything else was meaningless. No problem. Feng Yanran made a gesture of invitation and said, Brother Ling, please. The main entrance of Qingshu College was completely open. It only had a huge doorway but no door. This also symbolized its open style of running a school. Stepping into this huge doorway, Ling Xiao's pupils abruptly constricted. The inside of the college was as magnificent as the heavenly palace he had seen in books. Countless buildings were floating in the air, and it was a beautiful sight to behold. As expected of Qingshu College, it must have used a lot of arrays to make these buildings float in the air. The layman enjoyed the show, while the expert appreciated the skill. Ordinary people could only see the magnificent view of the college. However, what Ling Xiao saw were layers upon layers of interconnected formations and formations. It was simply airtight. Whoever wanted to cause trouble in Qingshu College would have to think twice. Feng Yanran showed a surprised expression and said, I didn't expect Brother Ling to know how to make arrays. I'm really impressed. It's just a basic knowledge. It's not worth praising. Ling Xiao said, but he was using his mountain and river martial spirit to observe the arrays and their development. What surprised him was that these arrays and arrays formed a huge, mysterious sky 8 trigrams. They were like delicate components that maintained the operation of the biggest array. This was really a big deal. Chapter 888. Qingshu College may not be as famous and prestigious as Phoenix Academy, but you'll know how good it is after you join. Feng Yanran said proudly. She had planned to join the Phoenix Academy, but she was persuaded to join Qingshu College. However, she found that it was completely different from what she had imagined. It should be much more powerful than she had imagined. Now I know. Ling Xiao said with a smile. He had been to all the 12 sects on the Sky Dragon continent, but none of them had such a strict array. Just based on this point alone, the Qingshu Academy overshadowed the Tianlong continent's 12 sects. More importantly, these arrays were obviously maintained by professionals, and there were no signs of them being destroyed. Unlike the Yuehua sect's large arrays, which were powerful but full of loopholes, almost to the point of being unable to be repaired, the Qingshu Academy had quite a number of array masters. At this point, Ling Xiao suddenly stopped and looked at Feng Yanran. Maybe it was because he was too focused, but the girl's face turned red. Brother Ling, why are you staring at me like that? Feng Yanran lowered her head and asked, I'm wondering why Miss Yanran's attitude is so different. Ling Xiao didn't hide his thoughts. Feng Yanran seemed a little disappointed when she heard this question, but she immediately became serious. Brother Ling, don't worry. I don't have any thoughts about you. I just want to repay your kindness. Repay my kindness? Ling Xiao didn't remember doing this woman a favor. It's not convenient to know now, but you'll know in the future. Feng Yanran smiled and said, Anyway, remember that you, Ling Xiao, are my guest in the future. If you run into any trouble, just come to me. Okay. Ling Xiao didn't ask further. Since she didn't want to, it was useless to ask. However, he had to figure it out. It wasn't hard to guess. Feng Yanran and Feng Qingyan were both from the Fiery Phoenix clan. So the person who wanted to help him was most likely an expert from the Fiery Phoenix clan. Could it be the Crown Prince, Feng Yinshan? Ling Xiao couldn't help but stroke his chin. He had a rough guess in his heart. At the same time, inside Phoenix Academy, Feng Ming, Wanchong sat in his room and thought about what had just happened. Suddenly, he slammed the table and shouted, "Piao Shui, come in!" Outside the door, Feng Ming and Piao Shui slowly walked in. "Vice Dean, please give your orders. I don't dare to instruct you. After all, your identity is special. Can I trouble Lady Piao Shui to help me investigate someone?" Phoenix Cry said. "Could it be that Vice President wants to investigate that Ling Xiao? Young lady is indeed intelligent." Feng Ming Wanzhong nodded and said, "This kid is definitely not simple. Otherwise, with Feng Qingyan's passive personality, he would definitely not stand up for him. Maybe it's because his talent is good enough, because he is the chosen one of the heavenly dragon continent." Phoenix Cry Piao Shui said after some thought, "It can't be that simple. I have seen young people with better aptitudes. Even Feng Qingyan didn't do such a thing. I suspect that he might have some other secrets. Lady Piao Shui has always been good at gathering information. Can you help me with this?" Phoenix Cry said, "No problem. My Piao Shui house does business in this area." Phoenix Cry Piao Shui smiled and said, "Then I will ask my subordinates to start investigating this person." "Thank you. You're welcome." Ling Xiao followed Feng Yanran to walk in Qingshu College. Every time he walked a distance, he would be attracted by the mysteries here. There were many things that he had never seen before, many complicated formations, and the ways to use them made him crazy. Different from when he first entered, after walking for a while, he could already see the students of Qingshu College coming and going on the road. Not only were these people dressed differently, but their temperaments and styles were also different. Ling Xiao guessed that Qingshu College should have chosen to teach students according to their aptitude and had divided the students into some categories. For example, some people looked very aggressive at first glance. Their eyes were always full of strong killing intent. However, in Ling Xiao's view, their defense was a little weak. There were also some people who were strong and good at defense, but lacked the ability to attack. There were also some people who had weak sky origin energy, but strong soul power. Ling Xiao was sure that these people must be good at soul mystic arts. He threw his question to Feng Yanran. Feng Yanran couldn't help but be a little surprised. Brother Ling's eyesight is also extraordinary. Ordinary people can't see these characteristics at all. After all, the college will teach some concealing methods in the process of teaching, so these people won't be seen through. Yes, when I was in the heavenly dragon continent, others also did that. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, was calm. Since Brother Ling has seen these, I won't keep you in suspense. I originally wanted to show you the whole college before telling you these, but now I'll give it to you. Feng Yanran thought and said, "Please." Ling Xiao nodded and said. Feng Yanran said, "The whole Qingshu College is divided into 6 departments: attack, defense, skill, healing, control, and spirit. There are many specialties under each department. You'll know them when you see the college chart. I'll just briefly introduce these 6 departments to you." 6 departments? It sounds quite interesting. I hope Miss Yanran can enlighten me. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with strong interest. The so-called attack department is the attack department. Warriors of this department are best at attacking. In a battle, they use strong attacks to suppress the opponent, making the opponent have no power to fight back. However, they are weaker in other aspects. If the attack is not as good as the opponent, it is naturally difficult to win. Swordsmen usually choose this department. After all, the sword is unconventional. Ling Xiao nodded slightly. This was basically the same as what he had imagined. Although most of the warriors were comprehensive, they must have something they were good at. After all, not every warrior had the mountain river martial spirit like Ling Xiao, who could be both offensive and defensive. If one wanted to be comprehensive, it was likely that he would be mediocre in all aspects. The so-called defense department is naturally the defense department. The warriors of this department are the opposite of the attack department. It is difficult for them to suppress the opponent with their attacks, but their defense is strong. It is not easy for anyone to defeat them. This was true. When the defense reached a certain level, the opponent's punch would be like scratching an itch. Even if the attack was not good, they could still wear the opponent to death. The so-called skill department is also called the secret skill department. This is more special. This kind of people are best at using the secret skill of the soul, which is impossible to guard against. Their attacks are the most mysterious and the most difficult to resist. These people are also the most unpredictable. Unfortunately, this department has always had the least number of warriors. After all, soul power is more difficult to cultivate than internal power. Chapter 889. Ling Xiao couldn't help but feel a little excited. The cultivation methods of the heavenly dragon continent didn't specify these things. It was too general, so it was very difficult to specialize in one area. Now that he had come to Qingshu College, it was indeed the right choice. Whichever area he was weak in, he would strengthen it. This might help him improve even more. The so-called healers usually refer to pharmacists, including alchemists and alchemists. This category is easier to understand. They aren't good at attacking or defending, but they are very good at supporting healing. They have the best endurance in battle. Brotherling, I heard that you are also good at alchemy? Feng Yanran asked. I know a little. Ling Xiao seemed very humble. Excessive modesty is arrogance. Actually, I won't hide it from Brotherling. This aspect has always been the weakness of our Clear Void Academy. We can't compare with the Divine Phoenix Academy. Our two great academies both have their own businesses in the Imperial City, selling things like alchemical pills. After all, if the academies want to develop, they can't do it without money. Feng Yanran smiled bitterly and helplessly. Now Qingshu College is being suppressed very badly, especially when the Phoenix Academy recently added a new teacher. He was recommended by the True Demon Empire. His name is Sun Shang, and he was the imperial physician of the Sacred Dynasty. He was known as the Heavenly Venerable Miraculous Hands. It's actually him. Ling Xiao couldn't help but sigh. Thinking back, the Holy Emperor treated this person very well. Who would have thought that he would choose to betray and join the sea race? Brotherling, you know this person? Yes, we have some conflicts. At the martial arts festival, it was this person who poisoned the butterfly girl. Ling Xiao still held a grudge. I see. Brotherling, you have to be careful in the future. The Phoenix Academy has always been protective. You have a grudge against Sun Shang, so they definitely won't let you go. Feng Yanran reminded. Miss Yanran, don't worry. Let's talk about the other two departments. Ling Xiao was not willing to talk too much about the feud in the Heavenly Dragon Continent. Anyway, this grudge, he would take revenge sooner or later. There was no hurry. All right, the so-called control is a control-type martial artist. This type of martial artist is rather special. Some of them are good at arrays and formations. Some of them are good at using secret scrolls, and some of them have martial souls or bloodlines that are rather special. Their attacks aren't that great, but they can control the entire battlefield and make their opponents suffer a fate worse than death. The so-called spirit is the spirit communication element. There are very few people like this. They are born with a martial soul or bloodline ability that can communicate with special spaces. Therefore, they can control beasts or special creatures to fight. After listening to Feng Yanran's words, Ling Xiao's heart felt like it was being overturned. In fact, he once possessed the abilities of these 6 elements, but he did not systematically cultivate and strengthen them, so they seemed a little messy. If he had come to the Divine Phoenix continent earlier, perhaps his development would have been even better than it was now. However, the possibility of losing his life was also greater. After all, at that time, his cultivation was too low. In the face of the Divine Phoenix continent's Heaven Realm martial artists, a martial vein realm martial artist was simply an ant-like existence. After listening to my introduction, Which department does Brother Ling intend to enter? Feng Yanran asked. Can I choose not to? Ling Xiao thought for a while and said, it was not that he was greedy, but because he felt that he did not seem to be suitable for any department. He was good at both offense and defense, and was also good at alchemy and setting up formations. His soul power was even more extraordinary. No matter which department he chose, it did not seem to be suitable. I am not surprised by this result. Most people would do this. Feng Yanran smiled and said, actually, you don't have to worry. No matter which department you enter, there will be basic teaching. Their courses are intertwined, but the focus is different. Even if you join the attack department, you can still learn defense, but it will not be as in-depth. No, you misunderstood. Ling Xiao shook his head and said, I am a person. If I choose one, I hope to do my best. Brother Ling, don't blame me for talking too much. If you are too greedy, it will often lead to mediocrity in all aspects. This kind of example is actually very common. Feng Yanran reminded, it is not that there are no comprehensive talents, but most of them are unable to become the top of their profession. Generally, comprehensive talents only take into account 2 aspects at most. You want to choose all 6 departments at once. This is a bit too greedy. I naturally know Miss Yanran's good intentions, but I have already made up my mind. Can I choose this way? Ling Xiao did not care about others, but he knew his own situation. He had the mountain river martial spirit, so of course he would not be mediocre in all aspects. He would be the best in every aspect. Of course you can, but you must accept a very difficult test. If you pass, you can enter the comprehensive department. There are very few people in this department, but you can choose to study many departments or all 6 courses. Feng Yanran sighed and said, but you also know that your time is the same as others. In the same time, with the same qualifications, others learn one thing, but you have to take into account 6 things. Whose results will be better? Actually, I don't need to say more, right? I appreciate Miss Yanran's good intentions, but I will not change my mind. Well, please come with me. Feng Yanran was somewhat disappointed with Ling Xiao. She originally thought that Ling Xiao should be a person who could see the big picture, but she did not expect Ling Xiao to be so greedy and stubborn. What a pity. With such qualifications, if you focus on the offensive department, you will inevitably become an overlord in the future, a top swordsman. But now, doing 6 things at once is simply destroying your future. She felt helpless in her heart, but she could not persuade him. She had experienced Ling Xiao's temper. A real bull's temper was useless. Once he decided on something, even 10 dragons could not pull him back. Miss Yanran should also be in the comprehensive department, right? On the way, Ling Xiao suddenly said, you can actually tell? Feng Yanran could not help but be surprised again. In front of Ling Xiao, she seemed to have no secrets. This is not surprising. While you are good at attacking, you also have a certain level of attainment in defense. You should belong to the category of both attack and defense. Ling Xiao said casually. Things that were very difficult for others became very common when he talked about them. Feng Yanran felt that she had hidden it very well, but she still could not hide it from Ling Xiao's eyes. Yes, just the courses of 2 departments. I feel that I can't keep up. The teachers have also advised me that if I simply choose the offensive department, my cultivation would be higher now. Feng Yanran sighed and said, because of this, I advise you not to be so greedy. Choosing 2 departments is already the limit. More will destroy your future. Ling Xiao just smiled faintly and did not speak. He could not tell Feng Yanran the secret of his body, so this was not clear. Since he could not explain it clearly, he could only give up. Soon, Feng Yanran took Ling Xiao to a towering palace. This palace had 6 doors, symbolizing the 6 departments. Chapter 890. The palace was called the testing hall. The 6 gates represented the 6 departments. As long as one could pass one of the gates, he or she would pass the test and become a student of the department. If one wanted to enter the general department, he or she would have to pass multiple tests. He or she would have to be recognized by the departments. So far, only 10 people from Qingshu College had passed 3 tests, and 1,000 people had passed 2 tests. These people were the sum of the past tens of thousands of years. Among the students of Qingshu College, only 1 person had passed 3 tests and 5 people had passed 2 tests. This was the best result in tens of thousands of years. It was obvious how difficult it was to pass the test. After all, everyone was good at different things. In front of the testing hall, many people were chatting. Qingshu College was very liberal. It was normal for these students to discuss problems together. It was normal for them to practice martial arts with each other as long as they didn't make trouble. Seeing Feng Yanran and Ling Xiao walking over with a smile, these people suddenly stopped talking and opened their eyes wide. They were obviously surprised. Feng Yanran was one of the goddesses of the Pueril Phoenix class, one of the few royal children of Qingshu College, and one of the only 5 warriors of 2 departments. She was usually arrogant. It was harder to talk to her than to reach the heavens. No one had ever seen her smile so happily and so freely. Who was that guy with Feng Yanran? Why was he so enviable? You seem to be quite famous in this college. Ling Xiao said with a smile. He was not a fool. It could be seen from the attitude of those people. Famous. Feng Yanran smiled and felt a little speechless. She was not only famous in Qingshu College, but also famous. But what was the use? She was bullied by Ling Xiao. Good. At this moment, a loud shout came from the testing hall. Everyone's attention was also attracted by it. Another goddess. I heard that she used to be the holy son of the sacred dynasty in the Tianlong continent. She is indeed powerful. She's so beautiful and powerful. Do you still want others to live? She should have passed all 3 tests, right? That's right. It looks like she's planning to take the 4th test. The sounds of discussion rose and fell one after another, and naturally attracted the attention of Ling Xiao and Feng Yanran. It's your friend, Haim Myung Ko. She's stronger and prettier than me. Brother Ling, you're so lucky. Feng Yanran's tone was a little sour. However, Ling Xiao acted as if he didn't hear it. He smiled and said, among the young people in the Sky Dragon continent, other than me, she is the first. It shouldn't be difficult for her to pass the 3 tests, but the 4th one is probably a little difficult. At this time, Lan Yu, Dai Yuling, and the others also saw Ling Xiao and ran over. Are you all done with the test? Ling Xiao asked with a smile. I'm from the general faculty, and I passed 2 tests. Long Chen said excitedly. Hearing this, Feng Yanran was shocked. Who are these people? She thought that only Ling Xiao and Haim Myung Ko were good, and the others were not good. However, it seemed that was not the case at all. I'm also from the general faculty, and I passed 2 tests. Lan Yu smiled faintly. She looked at Ling Xiao and Feng Yanran with doubts in her eyes. It seemed that she didn't understand why the 2 of them were together. Congratulations, Senior Sister Lan. We should be able to cultivate together in the future. Miss Yanran and I have reconciled. I hope you can forgive us. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Of course. Lan Yu nodded and smiled. You too should be from the medical faculty, right? Ling Xiao looked at Dai Yuling and Dai Yaoling and asked. At this time, Dai Yuling had the primordial gourd vine martial soul, and Dai Yaoling had the primordial nature dragon martial soul. The nature dragon martial soul was given to Dai Yaoling by Ling Xiao. Although he couldn't use it after it was sealed, he could give it to others. Ling Xiao really wanted to praise the seal. These 2 martial souls were very helpful in the medical field. That's right. The 2 sisters were now very close, especially when they heard the news that their mother, Dai Lingrong, was still alive before they left the Tianlong continent. They were in a good mood and didn't have time to be angry. Zhao Ji and I are from the offensive faculty. Ingwea and Zhao Ji had the golden-winged rock martial soul, while Zhao Ji had the black-winged rock martial soul. Both of them were good at attacking, so it was natural for them to choose the offensive faculty. Senior Brother Ling, you definitely didn't expect that I actually passed the defensive faculty's test and joined the defensive faculty. Lung Hao was a little surprised by this result because he took after the Golden Light, Heavenly Sovereign's personality and preferred to attack. He didn't expect that he was best at defense. Actually, I already noticed this when I was in the Tianlong continent. Unfortunately, I didn't have the conditions at that time. Next, I'll think of a way to get you a strong defensive martial soul. Study well. What you're good at is the best. If a person cultivated in the direction they were good at, regardless of whether it was their future achievements or cultivation speed, there would be a huge increase. It was because of this that Ling Xiao felt that Qingshu College was really good at this point. Zhao Ci, what about you? What faculty are you in? Ling Xiao asked. Reporting to Senior Brother Ling, I'm in the Spiritual Communication faculty. Zhao Ci replied, Spiritual Communication faculty? This is interesting. In the Tianlong continent, you didn't have the conditions to display your specialty. Now that you're here, you should study hard. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask Miss Yanran. Got it, Senior Brother Ling, Senior Sister Yanran. Although Zhao Ci was the princess of the northern Han state in the Tianlong continent, she had completely let go of her identity after experiencing so much. She treated herself as a simple warrior and focused on cultivation and self-improvement. Alas! Feng Yanran was about to speak when a sigh came from the other side. I guess Haim Miankeo didn't complete the fourth test. She looks a little disappointed. Ling Xiao said with a smile as he looked at Haim Miankeo, who was walking over gloomily. You're still not satisfied after passing 3 tests? Isn't this the best test result in the Qingshu Academy? Feng Yanran was speechless. How can I not be disappointed? The gap between you and me will be even bigger. Haim Miankeo shook her head helplessly and said, You should be able to pass all 6 faculties, right? Maybe. Ling Xiao smiled slightly and then walked toward the testing hall. Look, that person is about to take the test. A man who can walk with Feng Yanran probably won't have a bad result. Maybe he'll pass 2 faculties. Discussions immediately broke out. Ling Xiao walked through the first door, the attack power test. Outside the testing hall, there was a huge screen. This screen should be made of special materials because it could show the whole process of the test and let the people outside see it. It was supposed to be fair to avoid cheating. Chapter 891. The attack power test was very simple. There was a special crystal inside, and the participant would attack. If your attack power could reach the A level, you would pass. The attack power here was divided into 6 levels. Superior, Excellent, A, B, C, and D. Those below a level would not be considered to have passed. Ling Xiao also wanted to use this opportunity to understand a situation, so he did not intend to hold back. Begin. The testing teacher glanced at Ling Xiao's information and said lightly, Whoosh! A sword light broke through the air, and a purple flash sword appeared in Ling Xiao's hand at some point. Boom! The crystal kept flickering, and finally it turned into powder. At that moment, the people in the square outside the testing hall almost dropped their jaws to the ground. Although they knew that Ling Xiao was very strong, they had never thought that he could directly shatter the crystal. Me? He's too strong, isn't he? This kind of situation has never appeared in the test of the attack type system. His attacks are a bit too powerful. This is even more terrifying than some heaven-tier martial artists. As expected of the man that Feng Yanran likes. Amazing. That's right. Just in terms of attack, he's already very scary. He is going to continue the test? In the midst of everyone's discussion, Ling Xiao walked out of the first door. His result was superior because there was no better evaluation. Then he walked into the second door to test his defense. The defense test was not complicated. A teacher would launch an attack, and the power of the attack would gradually increase. According to different levels, the teacher would give an evaluation. Teacher, just use the superior level attack. Ling Xiao smiled and said respectfully, Are you sure? You will get hurt. The teacher frowned and said, I am sure, but I hope you will be careful. My defense is a bit special and it may hurt people. Ling Xiao explained very seriously. He was sincerely reminding the teacher. However, the teacher thought that Ling Xiao was looking at him. The students outside also expressed their dissatisfaction. This brat is too arrogant. Even if your defense is exceptional, it's impossible for you to injure a teacher who is at the 3 talents realm. Yes, his cultivation is not very strong. He must have forgotten himself. Son, don't worry. The testing teacher punched out, and the attack power was indeed very strong. Red sun feather raiment. Ling Xiao's body was suddenly covered in a layer of clothes woven out of light. Boom! The testing teacher's fist landed on the scarlet sun feather raiment. Ling Xiao didn't move an inch, but the teacher suddenly retreated. His right hand was already somewhat charred. Of course, it wasn't that he wasn't strong enough. It was just that he was in charge of testing Ling Xiao's defense, so he had only used a superior level attack. It wasn't his full strength. Brat, you're really strong. With such a strong defense, why don't you join our defense department? The examiner wasn't angry. Instead, he said excitedly, Come on, his attack power is also top-notch. This kid was born to enter the general faculty. This time, the vice president really picked up a treasure. An attack-type teacher came in from the door of the defense department's testing room and said with a smile, 2 top-notch departments. This is a talent that even Phoenix Academy doesn't have. The defense-type teacher lamented. Thank you for your praise, teachers. I should take the next test. Ling Xiao cupped his hands and then walked out of the second door with a superior grade and entered the third door. He actually chose to enter the secret arts department. Is there something wrong with his head? Yeah, the secret arts department requires a strong soul power to pass the test. This kind of person is very rare among the martial artists. Maybe he has some special skills. It can't be. His attack power is so strong and his defense is so good. How can his soul power be so strong? Many people felt that it was illogical. It was indeed illogical, but Ling Xiao was such an existence. In the crowd, Feng Yanran smiled bitterly. It seems that he really intends to take all the tests of the 6 departments. What's wrong with that? Haim Miankeo asked. Feng Yanran saw that Haim Miankeo, Lanyu, and the others felt that it was normal. She couldn't help but ask, Don't you think that he is a bit overconfident and greedy? You really don't know him. This kind of thing is just normal for him. Keep watching and you will know. Lan Yu shook her head with a smile and said, He is more terrifying than you think. Feng Yanran didn't believe her. The soul power test is completely different from the other tests. The passing rate is the lowest. Lan Yu and the others didn't say anything and just looked at the big screen. When Ling Xiao stepped into the third door, the attack-type and defense-type teachers also came in. The soul power test was indeed different from the other 2 tests. Before the test, I need to remind you that this is a special magical equipment called the Rubik's Cube World. As long as your skin comes into contact with it, you will immediately enter an illusion and experience all kinds of different worlds. It could be a dreamlike heavenly court or a tragic hell. Once you enter it, you may not be able to come out for the rest of your life. So, if you can't come out after half an hour, we will forcibly stop the test. This will damage your soul, but it can save your life. Yes, the soul power test was very dangerous. The Rubik's Cube world was very scary. Disciple understands. Ling Xiao nodded, but his expression didn't change. Then let's start. When you enter the illusion, We will calculate the time. The sooner you can come out of the illusion, the better your score will be. After half an hour, it means that you are not qualified. The testing teacher was a little surprised because there were few disciples who could remain calm after hearing his words. But soon he regained his composure and announced the start of the test. Ling Xiao took a deep breath and touched the Rubik's Cube world with one hand. Buzz! At that moment, Ling Xiao suddenly found himself in the killing field of the sacred city. There were true devil imperial countries everywhere, between heaven and earth. There were mournful screams and shouts that shook the heavens. The setting sun shone, and the whole world was blood-red. Beside him, a 12-year-old martial artist had his head chopped off. Blood splattered on his face, and he could even smell the unwillingness in the blood. Then the blade that killed the youth slashed towards him. From the outside, Ling Xiao's body seemed to move a few times, and then there was no movement. A quarter of an hour had passed. What a pity, it's not excellent. The attack-type teacher shook his head and said, It's about time. His attack and defense are both excellent, and his weakness and soul power is nothing. It's very normal. The defense-type teacher laughed. In the Rubik's Cube world, Ling Xiao was bathed in blood. He held the enemy's head in his hand and stood alone in the vast land. Around him were corpses and blood. Chapter 892. The scene suddenly changed. The original bloody and murderous aura was gone, replaced by richly ornamented pavilions. He was reclining on the couch, resting his head on the thighs of beauties, and several fairy-like women were feeding him grapes. Opposite him, in a large hall, there were beautiful women in thin clothes dancing. The sound of decadence reached its peak at this moment. Outside, a long time had passed. Oh no! I'm afraid this kid is completely immersed in the illusion. It's been almost an hour. The testing teacher of the attack department was worried. Alas, he's good at both offense and defense, but his soul power is his weak point. This kind of person can't do well on the battlefield. It's easy for him to fall into other people's illusions, and he might even become their weapon. The testing teacher of the defense department also sighed, somewhat disappointed. I've already told you that the soul power test isn't that easy. Phone, Yanran said helplessly. What's going on? Lan Yuer was also confused. Logically speaking, this shouldn't be the case. She was very clear about how powerful Ling Xiao's soul force was. Did something really happen? Haim Miankeo was also confused. They were already so confused, let alone the onlookers. This person is finished. It seems that he's not as good as the Holy Sun. Yes, it should be so. But he's good at both offense and defense, which is quite good. Most people can't reach his level. Amidst their discussion, an hour finally passed. Several teachers of the soul power testing room made a move at the same time, trying to interrupt Ling Xiao's immersion. However, at this moment, something strange happened. In the past, they could easily wake up the students from their immersion. But today, as long as they approached the Rubik's Cube world, they would be pushed away by an invisible force. It was extremely strange. What's going on? The testing teacher of the attack department was puzzled. There's a problem. We can't get close to the Rubik's Cube world now. This has never happened before. The testing teacher of the secret arts department was a bit panicked. After all, Ling Xiao was brought back by the vice dean. If he died like this, he couldn't report back. Won't anyone die from this? The teacher from the defense department frowned. You won't die, but you'll be trapped in an illusion forever. You'll never be able to wake up again, just like a zombie. You can't do that. His talent in both offense and defense is excellent. If he becomes a zombie just like that, I won't allow it. What's the point if you don't agree? If there's really no other way, we can only ask the head of the secret arts department to come over. With the strength of his soul, he should be able to summon this child back. Then what are we waiting for? Hurry up! It's already been more than an hour. If we're late, it'll be too late. All right, I'll call them now. I'll have to trouble you guys to keep an eye on them. The secret arts department's testing teacher raised his leg and was about to call for someone. No need, I'm fine. Ling Xiao's voice suddenly sounded out. He smiled as he removed his hand from the Rubik's Cube world and looked at everyone. How is this possible? Both the teachers inside and the students outside were dumbfounded. After more than an hour, he was still able to walk out of the illusion by himself. This had never happened before. How did he do it? Don't be surprised, everyone. I just found this Rubik's Cube world interesting, so I stayed a little longer. Naturally, Ling Xiao didn't just find it interesting. When he was in the Rubik's Cube world, he suddenly discovered that the Rubik's Cube world had a strengthening effect on his soul die. It also evolved the soul die into the soul Rubik's Cube. The trouble with the soul die was that it had to be rolled every time. As for what ability would appear, Ling Xiao had no control over it. This was also the reason why Ling Xiao rarely used the soul die. He liked to be in control of everything, so he was very dissatisfied with this. However, when the soul die evolved into the soul Rubik's Cube, the uncertainty completely disappeared. The 6 special abilities that the soul die originally had could be freely controlled and used according to his will. How could he let go of such a good opportunity? Therefore, he stayed a little longer in the Rubik's Cube world. But you're already unqualified. The secret arts department testing teacher shook his head and said, "No matter how you did it, the rules are the rules. You can't go against them." Teacher, you can't say that. The purpose of the secret arts department test is to see if a martial artist's soul power is strong enough. Am I right? Ling Xiao asked with a smile. Yes. In that case, I should have passed. It's just that with your ability, I'm afraid it's difficult for you to understand. Ling Xiao wasn't looking down on these testing teachers. It was just that his soul power was far above their level, especially in terms of control they couldn't understand. When he said this, the students in the square weren't happy. The testing teachers are inferior to you? You really have a big heart. I thought you were a good guy with a lot of potential, but I didn't expect that you don't even have the courage to admit defeat. Instead, you're here to cause trouble? We don't have the ability. Then go take the test in another department. You don't have to stay here. The teachers were a little unhappy. Ling Xiao smiled bitterly and said, "Teachers, don't be angry. I'm not mocking or looking down on you. It's just that my soul power is indeed stronger than yours. What's wrong with this guy? He must be crazy. I've never seen such a shameless guy. Why would my goddess be with such a guy? She must have been drugged." The students in the square outside were dissatisfied with him. The teachers inside the testing door weren't happy either. The attack department testing teacher said with a cold face, "Guy, don't be too arrogant. Although you were brought in by the vice dean, you should know how to respect others." The defense department testing teacher also said, "I'm a very magnanimous person. But you didn't pass the test, yet you're causing trouble and mocking the testing teacher. That's not good. So what if I give him a chance?" Just when Ling Xiao didn't know how to explain, a gentle voice sounded. The one who walked in was an old man with a black beard. He looked a little scary, but his voice was quite gentle. "Head teacher." The first seat of the secret arts department was naturally called by phone Yanran. Just now, when Ling Xiao was in danger, she was extremely anxious. "But head teacher, this person is too arrogant. He looks down on us testing teachers. We don't have the ability to take the test." Although the secret arts department testing teachers respected this head teacher, they still held their own opinions. They felt that Ling Xiao had insulted them. Chapter 893. It seems that you teachers have a deep prejudice against me. Ling Xiao shook his head and said, "You have a prejudice against me because you think I'm insulting and mocking you. This is actually a misunderstanding. I'll show you how strong my soul power is." He didn't want to make it too exaggerated, but he didn't want to start a feud for no reason. These teachers had a misunderstanding with him. It was completely different from what happened at the Phoenix Academy. "How are you going to show it?" The Secret Arts Department's first seat asked doubtfully. Ling Xiao smiled slightly. Above his head, the eye of the world opened. As the huge eye produced blood-red inscriptions, the surrounding world suddenly changed. The original testing room turned into a battlefield of slaughter. This is. The Secret Arts Department's first seat was shocked. Then he was pleasantly surprised. You can stop now. Your results are above excellent. Thank you, first seat teacher. Ling Xiao put away the eye of the world and cupped his hands at the Secret Arts Department's first seat. First seat, how did he pass the test? He clearly didn't touch the Rubik's Cube world just now. One of the teachers couldn't help but ask. The Secret Arts Department's first seat smiled and said, haven't you noticed? His soul force compared to ordinary students is on a completely higher level. A level higher? These words were naturally heard by the students in the square outside. Some of the Secret Arts Department's students were puzzled and somewhat unconvinced. Yes, in our usual tests, as long as they aren't affected by the Rubik's Cube world, they're the best. However, he directly controlled the Rubik's Cube world. The Secret Arts Department's first seat's words were earth-shattering. It was as if a volcano had erupted in the crowd. It directly exploded. Controlling the Rubik's Cube world? Was that possible? It seems that you still don't believe it? Ling Xiao changed to a snowy world. The Secret Arts Department's first seat smiled. Yes, Ling Xiao called out the eye of the world again. The sky suddenly changed color. In the white snow, everything was hazy. Only the shocked expressions of those people could be seen clearly. It's done. One of the teachers from the Secret Arts Department walked up to Ling Xiao and cupped his hands. Ling Xiao, we've misunderstood you. Your soul force has indeed far surpassed ours. What we said just now was a bit too much. Sorry. The others also nodded in agreement. Teachers, you're too polite. It's your disciple who doesn't know how to speak properly and caused you to misunderstand. In that case, I should pass this test, right? Of course, it's above exceptional. Oh my God, it's above SME again. This person is really amazing. Looks like we've all misunderstood him. The goddess's man is indeed extraordinary. On the square, countless students smiled bitterly. Phone! Yanran was completely dumbfounded. After a long time, she shook her head and said, maybe you're right. He's much more powerful than I imagined. Fellow, if you have any questions about the soul in the future, you can come and find this old man at any time. You can continue with your tests. This old man will be leaving first. The head of the Secret Arts Department turned around and left. Ling Xiao sighed in his heart. In comparison, Qingshu College was really much better than Phoenix Academy. At the very least, the teachers here dared to admit their mistakes. They were not as domineering as the teachers at Phoenix Academy. Teachers, I'm going to take the fourth test. After the 3 tests, the people present were even more expectant. As long as Ling Xiao completed one more test, he would break the record of Qingshu College that had been maintained for tens of thousands of years. This was a groundbreaking feat. They thought that the 4th test would take a long time. However, they did not expect Ling Xiao to complete it easily. The record that was as difficult as ascending to heaven in the eyes of others was simply not worth mentioning to him. After all, the 4th test was a medical test. He only needed to heal an injured animal, which was not a problem for Ling Xiao at all, even though his dragon soul and other things were sealed. Don't forget that the blood in his body was already the blood of the primordial golden dragon. There was no way to seal it. His blood had a very powerful healing effect. Naturally, his results were excellent. He's really breaking the record. Is he going to continue? Foam Yanran was a little excited and dazed. Initially, she had helped Ling Xiao only because Ling Xiao was the son of those two. However, now, she felt that she had to befriend Ling Xiao even if he was not the son of those two. Such a talent was hard to come by even in 100,000 years. The 5th test was a control element test. Ling Xiao had only slightly demonstrated his array formation skills, and he had already received a special grade. There's one last test left. This test is for the School of Spiritual Communication. It's more troublesome. It depends on the student's compatibility with the animal. If the student can make the animal develop a good impression and complete one task, the test will be considered a success. Feng Yanran was a little nervous. When it came to the last test, she was even more expectant. However, there was a hint of nervousness in her anticipation. However, what she did not expect was that not only did Ling Xiao pass the test, but he also made the animal complete 10 very complicated tasks. This was another result that was above excellent. Amazing! All the examiners followed Ling Xiao out of the examination hall. They all wanted to see this talent. He actually passed all 6 elements, and his results are all above excellent. Sky Dragon Continent's chosen one. He really lives up to his name. Alas, I knew it would be like this. In the end, the gap between us is too big. Haim, Myung-keo shook her head and smiled bitterly. In the past, there was still a big gap between him and me. Now, I'm not even worth mentioning in front of him. Ingwea also smiled bitterly. Don't sigh. When we were in Yuehua school, I wanted to protect him. In the end, he protected me many times. Lan Yu shook her head. Meeting such a junior brother, she really didn't know whether to laugh or cry. After the test, Ling Xiao followed Feng Yanran to the general department's main hall under the admiring eyes of the examiners. It was not only a place for teaching, but also a place for living. All the buildings were very beautiful. Each student had a room, clean and tidy. It was much more comfortable than living in a cave. Long Chen, Haim, Myung-keo, and Lan Yu, who were also from the general department, followed them. The others went to report to their respective departments. All right, Miss Yanran, I heard that there is a Heaven Essence Pagoda in the Imperial City. Only the students of Phoenix Academy and Qingshu College are qualified to cultivate there, right? After choosing his residence, Ling Xiao was most concerned about cultivation. Yes, the higher you go in the Heaven Essence Pagoda, the better the effect of cultivation. Therefore, the competition is very fierce. What I mean is, if you don't have full confidence, it's better not to go there. Cultivating in the academy is better than other places, but it's not as good as the Heaven Essence Pagoda. Feng Yanran suddenly paused. Alas, you won't listen anyway. Chapter 894. Feng Yanran now understood Ling Xiao a little. Ling Xiao was a person who never feared difficulties. The more difficult something was, the more energetic he seemed to be. Ha ha ha, it's good that Miss Yanran knows. Where is the location of the Heavenly Essence Pagoda? Ling Xiao asked with a smile. It's easy to find. Just stand at a high place and you'll find it. Feng Yanran pointed into the distance. Ling Xiao leaped dozens of meters into the air and looked into the distance. Sure enough, he saw a towering pagoda standing among the clouds. This was completely different from the Moonlight Pagoda. The Moonlight Pagoda could not be used for cultivation, but the Heavenly Essence Pagoda was a place for cultivation. There were many cultivation rooms, and the higher one went, the better the effects of cultivation. Countless warriors from the divine Phoenix continent wanted to enter to cultivate. However, only the disciples of the Phoenix Academy and Qingshu College were qualified. However, there was a problem. If one wanted to enter to cultivate, one had to have a certain level of strength. Otherwise, one would be driven away, especially since the relationship between the divine Phoenix continent and Qingshu College was not good. They had always been in competition. It was not uncommon for the two great academies to fight over cultivation rooms. If Ling Xiao wanted to enter, he would really have to consider it carefully. What's that? Suddenly, Ling Xiao's eyes turned. He noticed that there was a very lively courtyard near the Phoenix Academy. He could not help but turn around and ask Feng Yanran. That's the newly established Divine Phoenix Medical School. Feng Yanran replied. Originally, the Phoenix Academy was better than our Qingshu College in terms of medical alchemy. This time they even poached the godly Han Sunshang from the heavenly dragon continent. Their advantage has become even greater. In order to completely drive Qingshu College out of the elixir market, they established this independent Divine Phoenix Medical School. Just established? Ling Xiao asked. To be exact, it hasn't been established yet, because tomorrow is the establishment ceremony. At that time, there will be a large number of famous people coming to congratulate them. Although our Qingshu College feels uncomfortable, we still have to send people to congratulate them. Feng Yanran sighed. I'll take a look tomorrow. Ling Xiao didn't have a good impression of the heavenly venerate miraculous Han Sunshang. However, he didn't intend to make an enemy out of him so soon. It would be better for him to disguise himself tomorrow. Of course, there's no problem. There should be quite a lot of people watching tomorrow. Other than the establishment of the Divine Phoenix Medical College, they should also be holding the opening ceremony at the same time. The new students should all appear. Feng Yanran nodded and said, she didn't know about the grudge between Ling Xiao and heavenly venerate wondrous Han Sunshang. If she knew, she probably wouldn't have let Ling Xiao go. The next morning, as expected, many students from Qingshu College went to the Phoenix Academy to watch the show, including some teachers from the academy. Ling Xiao was no exception. However, he did not inform Haim, Mian-Ko, and the others. Instead, he went alone. He was mainly afraid that he would not be able to control himself and would not be able to escape with those people. Phoenix Academy's location was really much better than Qingshu College's. Qingshu College's location couldn't even be considered the outskirts of the imperial city. It could only be considered in the countryside. Phoenix Academy's location, on the other hand, was in the center of the imperial city, opposite the imperial palace. Today, the imperial city was still bustling with people and carriages. However, compared to yesterday, it was clearly more lively. Many people had arrived at the Divine Phoenix Plaza, where the enrollment was held yesterday. It was so densely packed that one couldn't see the end of it. In fact, the news of the establishment of the Divine Phoenix Medical College had already spread throughout the entire Divine Phoenix continent. Many martial artists had rushed here a few days earlier. Some came early, while others just arrived. Everyone had calculated the date. Due to the incident that happened in the Heavenly Dragon continent, the Sacred Dynasty was almost destroyed. This also made many martial artists in the Divine Phoenix continent worry about the safety of the Divine Phoenix continent. According to this time, the Phoenix Academy's opening ceremony would announce an important piece of news related to the True Demon's Empire. Many people rushed here not just to watch the show or to congratulate, but to know some accurate information. Everyone was responsible for the rise and fall of the world. Especially martial artists, their sense of responsibility in this aspect was very strong. On such a lively day, if nothing happened, it would be too good. The establishment of the Phoenix Academy's medical college and opening ceremony probably won't end peacefully. In the crowd, a person wearing a sinister ghost mask smiled faintly. The person wearing the mask was naturally Ling Xiao. There was no one else beside him. However, what surprised him was that Feng Yanran had actually brought Haim Mian-Ko and the others to the scene. Fortunately, he had disguised himself, so they didn't recognize him. Of course, it was also possible that they recognized him and didn't come over to greet him. After all, Ling Xiao was wearing a ghost mask because he didn't want to be recognized. If they came over, even an idiot would know that the person wearing the mask was Ling Xiao. Today's sky was a little gloomy, as if the heavens were dissatisfied with Sunshang's betrayal. However, even if the sky was gloomy, the atmosphere at the scene was still lively. That must be heavenly, sovereign, miraculous hands. Suddenly, a voice shouted, and then countless people looked up at the high platform. Heavenly, sovereign, miraculous hands Sunshang and the many new students behind him were all wearing the Phoenix Academy's uniform embroidered with the Divine Phoenix pattern. They looked domineering and majestic. Mo Wushang, Qin Bixue by Qianjiao Hongli, and the others were among them. The flame deity is also here. Ling Xiao's pupils shrank as he saw the flame deity appear in front of the line, wearing the Phoenix Academy's uniform. This person's cultivation has reached such a level. What surprised him even more was that the flame deity's cultivation had already broken through to the Grotto Heaven realm. Although he had just entered the Grotto Heaven realm, his aura was completely different from that of a celestial realm martial artist. Good. Very good. You are indeed the most outstanding genius in Yuehua school after me. That's good. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so exciting to kill you so easily. Ling Xiao took a deep breath and stared at the flame deity. An excited smile appeared on his face, which no one else could see. Everyone on the high platform was in high spirits and extremely pleased with themselves. They were able to join the most outstanding academy on the divine Phoenix continent and become a part of it. This was a great honor in itself. They enjoyed the envious gazes of countless people. Their heads were held high, like proud roosters. Ming Kong, calm down. Just as Ling Xiao was looking at a few familiar faces, Hai Mianko, who was below the stage, could no longer hold back. Fortunately, Feng Yanran and the others were there to stop her. Otherwise, she would have attacked. After all, Ling Xiao could hate the sacred dynasty, but people like Emo Wushang, Dao Wuming, and Sun Shang had been nurtured by the sacred dynasty with countless efforts. They had no right to betray the sacred dynasty. When Haim Miankeo saw the proud faces of these people, she was unable to suppress her anger. Chapter 895. Among the crowd, there were many martial artists from the Sky Dragon continent. They had arrived at the divine Phoenix continent from the Sky Dragon continent a few years ago. They were unaware of the betrayal of the sacred dynasty and the matter of the true demon's empire. In their opinion, these people were the hope of the Sky Dragon continent. Alliance Head Bien, it truly makes one sigh with emotion. In the past, we crossed the ocean and arrived at the divine Phoenix continent, yet you were the only one who was able to enter the divine Phoenix Academy to study. None of us had the chance to do so. But this time, that Emo Wushang, Qin Bishue, Bai Qianjiao, Hong Li, Dao Wuming, and the rest have truly brought glory to our heavenly dragon continent. The one who spoke was a middle-aged martial artist who was over 40 years old. The Alliance Master Bien he spoke of was called Bien Tianyan. He was the current Alliance Master of the Sky Dragon Alliance in the divine Phoenix continent. From this name, one would know that this Sky Dragon Alliance was an alliance formed by martial artists from the Sky Dragon continent. Their numbers accounted for 80% of the Sky Dragon martial artists in the divine Phoenix continent. It could be considered as the largest organization. That's right, Chenhai. In the future, we have to make friends with these young people. If possible, let them join our Sky Dragon Alliance. This way, the strength of our Sky Dragon martial artists on the divine Phoenix continent will be stronger. Bien Tianyan said with a smile. All along, human martial artists have no status on the divine Phoenix continent. Perhaps in the future, it will be an opportunity. Obviously, even this Bien Tianyan was very optimistic about these people. Ling Xiao happened to be standing not too far away from the two of them, so he could hear their conversation clearly. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. For those who didn't know the situation, these martial artists who were either the sea race or human traders had instead become the hope of the Sky Dragon continent, the hope of humanity's rise. This was really ironic. However, they were currently kept in the dark. One day, the truth would be revealed. Traitors and shameless people would eventually be punished, and humanity's true hope would rise completely. Ling Xiao never thought too highly of himself. However, he hoped that he could inherit the human king's wish and bring humanity to a higher level. After all, he was also human. Moreover, he had obtained many benefits from the human king. If he didn't do something, his heart would feel uneasy all the time. Everyone, today, I would like to introduce 3 important people to everyone. They will become the future pillars of our Phoenix Academy. A voice came from the high platform. Only then did the figure follow. He was the vice president of Phoenix Academy, Phoenix Cry Wanchong. I've long heard that Phoenix Academy has poached many talents from the Heavenly Dragon continent. I'm guessing that the vice principal is introducing them to us. Countless people in the crowd were muttering to themselves. Yeah, it seems like the rise of the Phoenix Academy is unstoppable. Some people were worried for Qingshu College. Qingshu College didn't like to be associated with the royal family, so it wasn't liked by the royal family. This was because, in the eyes of the current emperor, if Qingshu College did not support him, it meant that they supported the fiery Phoenix tribe. If that was not an enemy, then what was? The first one is Yuehua Sek's heavenly venerable demonic flame, who used to be famous in the heavenly dragon continent, an expert at the first transformation of the Grotto Heaven realm. Whoosh! The crowd applauded enthusiastically. From this, it could be seen that the flame deity was quite famous. The Phoenix Academy was also very popular among the martial artists of the divine Phoenix continent. Moreover, an expert at the first transformation of the Grotto Heaven realm was worthy of respect. The second one is the biggest contributor to the establishment of the divine Phoenix Academy today, Heavenly Venerable Miracle Hand Sunshang. He's the most outstanding pharmacist on the Heavenly Dragon continent. His cultivation is even more astonishing. He's at the 9th transformation of the Grotto Heaven realm. Whoosh! Even more enthusiastic applause sounded. Sunshang was not only an expert in alchemy, but his cultivation was also equally astonishing. Naturally, he attracted more attention. The last one is even more impressive. He used to be a disciple of our Phoenix Academy. After he finished his studies, he returned to the Heavenly Dragon continent and became the leader of the strongest sect on the continent, the Heavenly King sect. His cultivation has reached the terrifying Yinyang realm. His name is Sikongzun. This time, the crowd was silent for a moment. Then there was an explosion like a volcanic eruption. Everyone was stunned. Sikongzun was a famous genius when he was in the Phoenix Academy. Many martial artists of the divine Phoenix continent regretted that he went to the Heavenly Dragon continent. They didn't expect that after so many years, he would actually come back. His cultivation was even stronger than before. The flame deity will become a teacher of our Phoenix Academy. Heavenly Venerable Miracle Hand will become the dean of the divine Phoenix Academy. Phoenix Cry Wanchong continued to announce. As for Sikongzun, he will be the vice dean of the Phoenix Academy. He'll become an existence on the same level as me. The Phoenix Academy originally wanted Phoenix Cry Wanchong to be the vice dean. The position of the second vice dean had always been empty. They didn't expect that it would be given to Sikongzun. At this moment, Ling Xiao was incomparably glad that he had not entered the divine Phoenix Academy. Otherwise, facing these people, it would be difficult for him to even have a chance to survive, let alone have any achievements in the martial way. All right, I've finished announcing what I wanted to announce. I'll go back and cultivate first. Vice Dean Sikongzun will be in charge of all the following matters. After he finished speaking, Phoenix Cry Wanchong turned around and left. This person was a martial arts fanatic who wholeheartedly focused on cultivation. Therefore, if Sikongzun became the vice dean of the Phoenix Academy, then the Phoenix Academy would be completely under Sikongzun's control. However, in the eyes of most people, Sikongzun was originally a genius who walked out of the Phoenix Academy. It wouldn't be a problem for him to become the vice dean of the Phoenix Academy. Even if Ling Xiao told others that Sikongzun was the electric demon king, the key was that people had to believe him. Moreover, what did the existence of the Phoenix Academy have to do with Ling Xiao? Everyone, on this auspicious day, I would like to announce 2 joyous events. Sikongzun's voice was steady and capable, revealing wisdom and valiance. This was indeed in line with the temperament that a vice dean should have. It should be said that if he wasn't the electric demon king, if he wasn't from the Sea clan, then he would be more suitable for this position than Phoenix Cry Wanchong. First, from today onwards, all medicine shops under the jurisdiction of the Phoenix Academy will publicly sell low-level yellow-grade pills at half the current market price. In addition, mid-level yellow-grade pills will be sold regularly at half the current market price. In addition, all martial artists under the jurisdiction of the Phoenix Academy will be able to purchase high-level yellow-grade pills at a 20% discount. If one simply heard this news, they might not think that it was exaggerated. However, after understanding the situation in the divine Phoenix continent, one would understand how important this news was. One had to know that, for a long time, none of the medicine shops on the divine Phoenix continent sold high-level pills. Low-level yellow-grade pills could only be purchased by aristocrats, and they also needed to use their connections. Mid-level and high-level yellow-grade pills could not be seen at all. Even aristocrats could not buy them. If they wanted them, they had to go to other continents to buy them. Chapter 896. The Phoenix Academy's sudden announcement when there was a serious shortage of yellow-grade elixirs was undoubtedly earth-shattering. To be honest, even many Qingshu College students were tempted and had the idea of leaving Qingshu College and joining the Phoenix Academy. What a ruthless strategy! In this way, Qingshu College will be completely at a disadvantage in the confrontation with the Phoenix Academy. There will be no possibility of a comeback. Feng Yanran sighed helplessly. Not necessarily. Lan Yuer smiled faintly. She glanced at Ling Xiao, who was wearing a ghost mask. Not necessarily. Feng Yanran smiled bitterly. These warriors from the Sky Dragon continent really didn't know the current situation of the Divine Phoenix continent and the Divine Phoenix Empire. The second thing. Sikong Zun saw the shocked expressions of the people below and couldn't help but laugh secretly. This little favor could win people's hearts. It was really too convenient. He immediately struck while the iron was hot and announced the second thing. I believe that everyone here has heard of the 10 great phoenixes. Phoenixes. The Phoenixes are the top 10 young people in the Divine Phoenix continent. The Phoenix Academy already has 2 Phoenixes. Is there going to be a new addition? I don't know. Let's see how the Vice President will announce it. In the square, there was a tense atmosphere among the crowd. I guess many of you have already guessed it. That's right, we will have 2 important students in this start-of-term ceremony. Sikong Zun felt that the atmosphere was about right, so he raised his voice and said, "The 2 of you can come out and meet everyone." As soon as the voice fell, a burst of wild thunder fell from the sky, scaring everyone. The lightning fell on the high platform, and the young man in blue finally revealed his true appearance. He was calm, and had a smile on his face. That's Eagle Heavenly Hero, the Thunder Eagle Phoenix. How could everyone not recognize this person? Eagle Heavenly Hero, one of the 10 great phoenixes and the most outstanding genius of the Thunder Eagle clan, was actually going to join the Phoenix Academy. Was the Thunder Eagle clan going to submit to the Ice Phoenix clan? At this moment, a rainbow-colored divine light flashed in the sky, and almost everyone couldn't open their eyes. The clouds in the sky turned into a rainbow-colored glow. A young man emitting a rainbow-colored glow slowly floated down from the sky like a beautiful peacock spreading its tail. It's the Peacock Phoenix, Kong He. Everyone was surprised. It was one thing for the Thunderhawk clan to submit to the Ice Phoenix clan. After all, the Thunderhawk clan wasn't considered the strongest among the aristocratic clans. However, the Peacock clan status was second only to the Phoenix clan. Could it be that the Ice Phoenix clan was preparing to take over the position of Divine Phoenix Empire's monarch forever? This was really too shocking. This news was probably more than any other news. News was Phoenix Academy. After all, the addition of the Peacock Phoenix Sun and the Thunder Eagle Phoenix Sun was not just 2 students. It represented the allegiance of the 2 large clans. Yesterday, when I saw the Peacock Phoenix and the Thunder Hawk Phoenix chasing each other outside the city, I thought they were just here to have fun. I never thought that they were here to join the Divine Phoenix Academy. This Vice Principal Sikong Zun is really something. With him, I'm afraid that Divine Phoenix Academy will be able to ride on top of Clear Void Academy's head and abuse their power. Yeah, for of the 10 great phoenixes belong to Phoenix Academy, while Qingshu College doesn't have one. The gap is getting bigger and bigger. In the plaza, everyone was discussing animatedly. Everyone was surprised and sighed with emotion. Feng Yanran frowned. Against Divine Phoenix Academy's imposing manner, what kind of method would Clear Void Academy use to display their strength? The corners of Ling Zhao's mouth curled into a slight smile. 10 great phoenixes? Since he came to the Divine Phoenix continent, he had to challenge the 10 great phoenixes. From his point of view, it would be best if all of these people joined Divine Phoenix Academy. At that time, if he could single-handedly turn the tide and protect Clear Void Academy, then in the Divine Phoenix continent, his position in Clear Void Academy would be much higher. All right, the 2 announcements have been made. Next, the ceremony will begin. Everyone who comes is a guest. I hope there won't be any blind people causing trouble here. Otherwise, I won't be merciful. Sikong Zun's high-pitched voice was filled with viciousness. He probably knew that there were many people in the crowd who didn't like him, but he didn't care. It didn't matter to him whether they liked him or not, as long as they didn't come out to court death. Qingshu College's Feng Qingyan congratulates the establishment of Divine Phoenix Medical School. I have prepared a gift for you. Please accept it. At this moment, a white figure floated over. It was Qingshu College's vice principal, Feng Qingyan. Of course, he wasn't here to deliver a gift. From the powerful aura he released as he flew, it was obvious that he didn't want Phoenix Academy to be too proud, so he deliberately showed off his strength. So what if he was a son of Divine Phoenix? He was just a young person with talent and potential. Phoenix Academy didn't dare to touch Qingshu College all these years, not because of these young people, but because of Feng Qingyan, Principal Feng Qingshu, and another vice principal. Of course, he didn't plan to cause trouble. That would seem petty. The gift was a real gift. It wasn't fake. Welcome. The Peacock Clan is here to congratulate you. The Thunder Eagle Clan is here to congratulate you. True Demons Empire's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Skymoon Sunrise, is here to congratulate you. I have a gift for you. Please accept it. Hearing this voice, countless people suddenly became nervous. True Demons Empire's reputation was too great. Tens of thousands of years ago, they almost destroyed the sacred dynasty, causing countless heroes to tremble in fear. At that time, the sacred dynasty was 100 times more powerful than the current Divine Phoenix Empire. Not long ago, the True Demons Empire rose again and destroyed the sacred dynasty, completely destroying the sacred city. Although they didn't completely unify the Sky Dragon continent, it wasn't far away. Skymoon Sunrise was a woman, a very beautiful woman, noble, graceful, elegant. It seemed that all adjectives could be used to describe her. Her cultivation wasn't as high as the 2 demon kings, but it wasn't lower than Sun Shang. The people around her were also experts in the heaven realm. You're finally here. Seeing Skymoon Sunrise, Sikong Zun smiled and said, There's one more thing I didn't announce just now because the host isn't here. Now, I'll solemnly announce to everyone. Divine Phoenix Empire and True Demons Empire have formed a strategic partnership. The 2 empires will not invade each other and will send cultivators to learn from each other and fight against foreign enemies together. Hearing this, everyone was dumbfounded. Not to mention what would happen if Divine Phoenix Empire and True Demons Empire formed an alliance. Since this was announced by Sikong Zun, it represented the will of Phoenix Academy. They had long heard that the president of Phoenix Academy was the current emperor's advisor. This was equivalent to announcing that Phoenix Academy represented the existence of the entire Divine Phoenix Empire. Compared to them, Qingshu College wasn't even worth mentioning.